Everyone, we ask folks to bring their conversations to an expeditious close as we open the first regular meeting of the Los Angeles City Council's Planning and Land Use Management Committee. I want to begin the opening of this committee by introducing myself. My name is Marquise Harris-Dawson, Chair of the committee and representative for the 8th Council District. We're joined by Council members Bob Blumenfeld of the San Fernando Valley, and we want to welcome for his first meeting our newest council member. I think you're in hour number 5 now. Council member Greg Smith, representing the Northwest San Fernando Valley as well. Before we get started with this meeting, we'll be joined by a couple more members as time goes on. But before we get started with this meeting, I want to ask the city attorney to read aloud what is written in the back and is what is our new operating procedure in every Los Angeles City Council committee meeting as we start. And before you do that, I want to welcome the legendary council member Gil Cedillo to the dais as a regular member of the Plum Committee. Mr. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the first Plum Committee meeting starts for 2019, I'd like to take a moment to remind everyone that some new council and committee rules have come into effect. The new rules state that a member of the audience who disrupts multiple council or committee meetings may be excluded from future meetings for 1 or more days. The number of days increases with the number of disruptions. The exact rules are available on the city's website, and a summary of the rules are on a large poster board in the back of the room and just outside the doors of the council chamber. These new rules do not address the content of public speakers' remarks. Instead, they are designed to prevent repeated actual disruptions of council and committee meetings. Our hope is that the new rules will help the council and committee meetings run more efficiently to complete the city's business and to allow as many members of the public as possible to present their comments to their elected representatives in an orderly manner. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for letting me read that in.
Thank you so much for reading that into the record. We have a good amount of business and we got a lot of speakers today, so having knowledge of those rules is going to be very, very important. We're going to begin our meeting today as we begin all of our meetings, and that is with folks who have submitted cards on multiple items and general public comment. You'll be given 2 minutes to speak. There are 3 people in that category, as I can see, that appear in front of me at this moment. One of them is Herman, another one of them is Miss Antonia Ramirez, and the other one is Stephanie Okolo. If you all will come to the podium at the center aisle, we'll start your time, and you're allowed to speak on matters pertaining to the jurisdiction of this committee.
What we call development in housing is not what we call affordable housing. 95 units will not satisfy the issue of rent control or affordable housing. It would only expedite a surface of lies and malicious political corruption, as we've been reading and heard in the news regarding one elected official by the name of Jose Huizar, who branded the long-term issue on what's important, bicycle parking. We don't need no fucking bicycle parking. We need housing. We need rent control. And we need rent affordable housing. That's what Measure HHH and Measure 2 and all these fucking bonds and grants that we voted on are supposed to do. Instead, we come in here to deliberate our concerns in the issues that pertain to the quality of life of what we find in our interest, the public's interest. So we're not going to sit here and lollygag about a fucking stupid place to sit down for convenience and necessity and more alcohol. We're going to deliberate truths and facts by permit. And we're going to stop the developers who are bending your arms and patting your wallets with all this fucking political corrupted money that you keep stealing on our behalf. So fuck you, 42 USC, Jose Huizar, and fuck the city attorney on Rule 63. I amend. Now, in my public comment,
that's your time.
Public comment.
You've exhausted your time. Ms.
How much
Ramirez.
time do I get, sir?
Ms. Ramirez, it's your turn.
Just 2 minutes? Excuse me, Mr. Chair, how much is my time? 2 minutes only?
2 minutes.
Do I get general public comment and a special?
You get 2 minutes. You've gotten 2 minutes.
What about the special?
You've gotten 2 minutes. That's all you're getting.
And no special, huh? Already starting your fucking game, Dawson. Crazy nigga.
Hi, good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, I would just like you to know that if ever a council member wants to put a shelter or any kind of structure to house the homeless, say no. You have every right to be concerned. I am homeless by design because I spoke out against the gangbangers, the wetbacks, and look where my shopping cart is behind me. I sleep on the streets, and I know the streets and the goings and the comings. And first of all, ladies and gentlemen, I speak to you and tell you, make sure you fight against anything that comes into your neighborhood. These homeless, predominantly the the gangbangers, the wetbacks, and the gangbangers have joined forces with the Skid Row niggers. And what they do is they are drug addicts. They are pimps. They are violent criminal offenders. They are violent against women. They attack and beat women.
Ask everybody to
they cut in line.
Quiet
they steal,
down.
they steal, and then they use violence on a daily basis against homeless women. This happens every day, every night, against the mob lynchings by the blacks when they deny, but yet they'll cry racism, discrimination, and all that, and yet you'll have the nigger, Mark Ridley Thomas, and Herb Wesson throw us out when we come here in good faith to tell you what goes on in the streets. The gangbangers with the wetbacks and the niggers have joined in attack and beat women and military veterans. But what we say is deport the wetbacks and the gangbangers and start putting these politicians where they belong, out on the streets, and let them live the hell we live, in the rain, in the heat, in the dirt. These people are pigs. They have no human dignity. They don't clean up their space. They don't respect other human beings. They don't respect themselves. So what I say to you is don't let any shelters or anything come into your neighborhoods, because truly 99.9% of the homeless are pigs. That includes the niggers, the wetbacks, and the gangbangers. And tell that to Mark Ridley Thomas, who's another filthy, nasty nigger, along with Eric Garcetti and City Attorney Michael Feuer. Go to jail. You will fry.
All right. Folks know, as we read the rules in the beginning, we cannot, per the United States Constitution, control content. And so we thank Ms. Ramirez and Mr. Herman for welcoming Mr. Smith to Plum Committee today. We're going to get you right in the deep end of the pool. Yes, ma'am.
Council. My name is Stephanie Okolo, and I'm a prevention outreach specialist at Behavioral Health Services in Hollywood. I'm here today in opposition of the Hollywood Crossroads project. The addition of this project and the multiple alcohol establishments it introduces to the Hollywood area doubles the amount of expedited CUP licenses in an already oversaturated census tract. This project will increase the number of alcohol-related nuisance activity in Hollywood and stretch the resources of the already spread too thin LAPD. I ask that you do not approve the production of this pollution factory, and furthermore ask the committee why they have ignored ARIS, a community tool that would see to it that Hollywood isn't saturated with alcohol retailers. I ask that the council place ARIS on the agenda and help the Hollywood community. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, if we could begin consideration of items today by beginning with item number 6, which there's been a request for a continuance of that item to a date to be determined.
So item 6, Councilman, this is an appeal by the project applicant. He's appealing the action of the West LA APC, which overturned the Director of Planning's approval of the track map.
So without objection, that item will be continued to a date to be determined.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chair, that's a noticed item. Did you want to continue it to a date certain, or did you still want it to be determined?
We'll continue to a date to be determined.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we have items number 2, number 5, and number 10. If we could get those read into the record.
Sure. Item 2, Councilman, this is a zone change application. The project is located in CD 12. It's for a self-storage building. And item 5, Councilman, what's before you is a general plan amendment and a resolution and a zone change. This is a 100% affordable housing project located in CD 14. And item 10, sir, item 10 is a haul route appeal by the project applicant, Meta Housing Corporation. It's to export 6,120 cubic yards of earth at the property at 619 to 633 South Westlake Avenue in CD1.
All right, items number 2 and 5, I request committee that we take those items on consent. If there's no objection, that'll be the order. And then item number 10 is an appeal, so there should be an applicant and an appellant.
The applicant is the appellant, Councilman.
The applicant and the appellant are the same people.
Yes, one and the same.
All right. So do we have testimony from them?
I'm not sure if they're present. It's the Meta Housing Corporation.
Excuse me, for the record, Jim Reese with Craig Lawson and Company representing Meta Housing in this appeal. I will turn in a speaker card after I speak. I apologize. It's a very quick message. This is a 100% affordable project in CD1 right next to the Westlake Theater. We are looking for a haul route to start at 7 a.m. We were conditioned that we could not start before 9 a.m. And I hearken back to a directive by the mayor to the city departments asking us to approve projects 25% faster when they're affordable housing projects. And we're doing the exact opposite in this project by delaying. We're extending the haul period by 25%. We're adding about $36,000 to the construction costs. And I would argue that we have an urgent need for affordable housing, and I would ask you to please consider our request to move the start hours up to 7 a.m. I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
All right, thank you. I don't know if Building and Safety wants to make any comments. We have no public comment cards on this matter.
Right. So the only issue is the time when they begin the haul route. Councilman Cedillo is the council member where the project is located.
Councilmember Cedillo.
Yes, we'd like to grant the appeal. Well, it was well stated. Obviously, the sooner we start, the sooner and the more that we are able to move. The route remains the same. I think it should be noted that there's a community of people who are really early risers, so this is not a kind of traditional neighborhood. This is an area of a lot of seniors, a lot of density, and a lot of people who are up and about early, so we're not waking up people that you might think in a kind of more traditional setting. And so with that, I think there's no other need for any additional mitigation. Should move forward.
Great. Thank you so much for your leadership, Mr. Cedillo. I'll second the motion that we grant the appeal, and that'll be the order without objection.
The appeal meaning that the haul route commences at 7 a.m. Right.
All right. If we can move to items number 3 and 4.
Items 3 and 4, Councilman, are interrelated. Item 3 is a proposed development agreement by and between West Campus LLC and the City of LA at an estimated value of $1.5 million. And item 4 is the associated general plan amendment and the zone change. The project is located in CD 11.
All right. We have a presentation from our planning department.
Good afternoon, committee members. I'm Kathleen King with the Major Projects section. The case before you includes a general plan amendment, zone change, and height district change to permit the renovation of 2 existing 10-story office towers with 342,078 square feet, and the addition of a 120,000 square foot expansion that includes 115,000 gross square feet of office and 5,000 gross square feet of restaurant use to the existing office and retail uses. On September 27, 2018, the City Planning Commission recommended approval of the project and the associated development agreement for the provision of community benefits with a combined value of $1,520,000 in exchange for a proposed term of 15 years, in conjunction with minor revision from staff's recommendation, including Q condition numbers 7 and 8, which pertain to electric vehicle parking and outdoor lighting. As requested by CPC, all excess non-required parking shall be EV installed, and restrictions regarding the height of permitted outdoor lighting and the prohibition of light poles were included. The applicant's representative submitted a letter to the council file dated January 10, 2019, requesting that the 2 conditions be revised. Planning staff has reviewed this request and is available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I believe our first speaker on this will be Marcos Falayos. There he is. You have 5 minutes, Mr. Falayos.
Good afternoon, Chairman Harris Dawson and honorable council members. Marcos Falayos with Park and Falayos on behalf of the Lumen Project. We're excited to be here today. This is a great project that modernizes an existing site and invests in activating the pedestrian frontage along Olympic Boulevard and creating active retail and restaurant uses in the neighborhood. The project promotes public transit, privately funds a shuttle to provide a first-mile, last-mile connection to the Expo line, provides new public spaces, including a dog park, and provides a number of community benefits that do not exist today. The project is a reflection of extensive community outreach and collaboration with neighbors, local businesses, and other stakeholders. I'd like to point out, with respect to the condition clarification we requested, we're requesting clarification only to the lighting condition, which we've addressed, which we have submitted the requested clarification to that condition. We are not requesting any other revisions, and we respectfully request that you approve the project with the one clarification on lighting. In the interest of time, I'll now turn it over to Edward Cook of McCarthy Cook, who will share a few details about the project. Thank you.
Good afternoon, honorable council members. Cook with McCarthy Cook. We are very excited about this project. At the core, it's an investment in the community. We're providing office space that will be a new workplace for office workers of the future and what's needed in today's workforce. Triton Center is an outdated 1980s office project along Olympic Boulevard near the Expo line and near the bustling Sawtell Japantown area. The project today turns its back on the community and on the pedestrians. Our plan has been a dramatic metamorphosis, utilizing existing infrastructure to create a beautiful community-centric campus for the 21st century. Through a surgical addition to the project as opposed to ground-up construction, we're going to unbolt these dense exterior walls that you saw on the project. We're going to extend the floor plates and make those floor plates accommodate modern open-plan office users. And then we're going to drape the new exterior in a modern facade. This is an entirely new, smarter, greener, sustainable design standard that will also, interestingly, enhance seismic safety. We have lots of visions for the project and community benefits. And the first is that we're completely transforming the pedestrian experience. We want to engage and begin to take the energy that is in Sawtell Japantown down Olympic Boulevard. We have new restaurants and retail at the street level. We have green open space for the community to enjoy. A public dog park, a shuttle to encourage employees to use the metro, which we believe is going to attract a lot of great employers. We have a bike share program, and we have a community neighborhood parking program to get cars off the street in the neighborhood and help the local businesses. We're proud of our very active community engagement. Throughout this process, we have been collaborating with the community, with neighbors, with local businesses, and importantly, the neighborhood council and other stakeholders, all of whom we enjoy, I think, great support for this project. We're confident this is a consensus plan for the community and a great project for the environment and brings commercial transportation benefits to this area of Los Angeles. And on behalf of the entire team, we thank you for your time and your service, and we're happy to answer any questions. We have our entire technical team here today if you have any questions.
Thank you so much. We have about a dozen public comment speakers on this, so we'll call them, and then there'll be discussion amongst the council if there's any. Ms. Asia Flowers, Jay Bradford, April Paiye, sorry if I'm damaging that.
Good afternoon. My name is Asia Flowers, and I'm here with Creed LA, and we're in full support of this project. This project sets a new model for sustainability. It includes vast energy-efficient improvement, water use reduction, rainwater management, and open green spaces. It will meet LEED standards for sustainability construction. This project also represents $200 million of investments to enhance the area and produce quality jobs for LA working families. This is also an environmental friendly development. This project will use electricity from water poles and solar power generators rather than temporary diesel and gasoline generators to help reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The redesign will also optimize the building for earthquake safety. This is an ideal development for our community, and we strongly urge you to approve it. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Jay Bradford with Creed LA, and we are in full support of this project. The plans for this project are impressive for the commitment to the environmental sustainability and the transit-oriented development. The project will feature 15,000 square feet of solar panels, at least 20% of parking spaces, and will be capable of supporting EV charging equipment. And it will also include smart transit connectivity measures like a shuttle to the nearby Expo line and a bike share program. In addition, at least 150 parking spaces at the project will also be used by nearby businesses on the evenings and the weekends. Furthermore, this will help local businesses become more accessible and potential customers, further increasing revenue and supporting our local economy. We are proud to support this project, and we strongly urge you to approve it. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is April Papili, and I'm with the Arms of LA, and we support this project. We are especially excited about the local hire component of this project because we have firsthand experience of the benefits of local hire programs. Our members have benefited immensely, not only in securing jobs, but also taking first steps toward establishing careers in the construction industry. The chance to give hardworking men and women such an opportunity needs to be supported by our city leaders. Thank you.
Morana Marita, Chris Cheek, Oscar Martinez.
Hi, my name is Miranda Marita. I'm with Arms of LA, and we support this project. We work to assist at risk youth, veterans, homeless, and anyone in need of a second chance. It is very encouraging that the applicant has committed the support of local workforce, training and development, and hire. For us at Arms, it is an opportunity for our members to launch a career in construction industry. We urge you to approve this project and give those in need a second chance and opportunity to improve their lives. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Oscar Martinez with IBW Local 11. We support this project. This project allows our hardworking men and women to advance their careers while earning middle-class wages and benefits. The applicants has engaged early and often with the community listening. They revised the project along the way in the response to the feedback, and this has resulted in a high-quality collaborative project. This project is great for our community, and we strongly urge you approve it. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name's Chris Cheek. I'm here on behalf of Plumbers Local 78 in Los Angeles. We're very proud that our local skilled workforce will work on this project. It will enhance our city and local community. The applicant has committed to area wage standards, allowing our local skilled plumbers to better provide for themselves, their families, with good pay, health care, and a pension. We strongly urge you to approve the project. Thank you.
Thank you. Doug Summers, Albert Darte, Gus Torres, Godfrey W. Not here.
How you doing? My name's Doug Summers. I represent UA Local 709 Sprinkler Fitters, Los Angeles. I represent over 1,000 hard-working journeymen and women in the fire protection business. We're in strong support of this project. It has a strong local hire piece in it, strong commitments with the skilled crafts, and area standard wages. Please support this project.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you for allowing me to speak. My name's Albert Duarte, and I'm a member and organizer for Local 416. We're ironworkers, and it's my responsibility as an organizer to work with reintegration programs, to work with high schools and getting the kids to work, the kids that weren't good at school, to start them in apprenticeship programs, to work with non-union companies, because building LA and voting for us. But thank you for everything that you've been able to give us, especially a job for tomorrow. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Gus Torres. I'm here on behalf of UA Local 250 and our 6,000 members, and we're here to support this project. The applicant on this project has committed to local hire and paying fair wages for the workers who will be building this project, including guaranteeing safe working environment for our workers and using responsible contractors. This project is a huge improvement over what exists today. Please help middle-class jobs and benefits by approving this project. Thank you for your time, and God bless.
Good afternoon. My name is Godfrey Washira. I'm with Creed LA. We are proud to have supported this project from the very beginning, and we look forward to a successful completion. We liked it because the applicants used a textbook approach to community outreach, did it early, and were honest in their interactions. We also like the fact that it's committed to the applicants have a commitment to the environment, to our local workforce, and above all, using the project to provide a solution to an everyday problem within the neighborhood. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. The rendering of the transformation is worth a lot more. And I hope you guys will finally put the final rubber stamp, and we can go home happy. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we have a speaker from Council District 11? Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Len Nguyen. I'm Senior Planning Deputy for Council Member Mike Bonnet. Councilmember Mike Bonin is pleased to join today's broad coalition of community stakeholders, workers, neighborhood leaders, and the West Los Angeles Sawtelle Neighborhood Council in support of the Trident Center Modernization Project. It is a model of good community outreach. I want to thank the applicant on behalf of the council member for working in partnership with the West LA community to provide a beautiful, sustainable, walkable, and multimodal project with extensive community benefits. As such, Councilmember Bonin asks that you approve the project before you today with the proposed lighting clarification. Thank you.
Excellent. So that exhausts our public comment speakers on this matter. I'd like to move that we proceed with the recommendations made by Council District 11. It's been seconded by Mr. Cedillo. So if you could help read into the record how we'd be proceeding.
Sure. So item 3, Councilman, will request the city attorney to prepare and present the ordinance for the development agreement. And item 4, Councilman, will approve the project with a request to modify Q8 as relates to lighting as requested by the project applicant and recommended by CD 11.
Thank you so much. Without objection, that'll be the order. That takes us to item number 7.
Councilman, item 7 is an appeal by Beatrice Layton. This is an appeal as it relates to the approval of a vesting tract map for a 20-unit condo project in CD5.
All right, we have a presentation from our planning department.
Good afternoon, council members. Joseph Houston with the Department of City Planning. The case before you is a second-level appeal of a vesting tentative tract map approval for the subdivision of 20 condominium units at 1220 to 1226 South Bedford Street in the Wilshire Community Plan area. The appellants contend that the project will have adverse impacts related to construction and neighborhood character, as detailed in the appeal response prepared by staff and submitted to the council file on December 4th. Through the imposition of several conditions of approval and through adherence to regulatory compliance measures, the project will not adversely affect the surrounding community. What was approved under the authority of the Central Area Planning Commission, an advisory agency, concerns the subdivision of land into condominium units. The city maintains that it followed the appropriate steps in determining that the project qualifies for a Class 32 categorical exemption and meets all the conditions described under Sequal Section 15332. The subsequent construction of the approved project is considered a ministerial action and will be required to adhere to regulatory compliance measures that are intended to reduce impacts for categorically exempt projects to less than significant levels. Therefore, staff recommends that the Plum Committee affirm the decision of the Central Area Planning Commission in denying the appeal and sustaining the decision of the Deputy Advisory Agency in approving the subdivision. Thank you for your time. Staff is available for any questions should you have them.
Thank you so much. If you all hang out for a minute, we might have questions after we hear from the applicant, appellant, and public comment speakers. So now we'll hear from the appellant, Beatrice Layton. You will have 5 minutes to make a presentation regarding this project. No Beatrice? All right. Jonathan Brand?
Council members, my name is Jonathan Brand. It's very nice to see everybody here at City Hall. It's been a while since I've been here. The project, just to really echo the words of planning staff, the project before the commission today is just a condo subdivision of a previously approved DAR density bonus case. We are fulfilling all the qualifications overwhelmingly of the Class 32 categorical exemption. In addition, this is going to have 2 affordable units. We're within the height. We're in the zone. This area has recently been deemed the TOC Tier 3 area. This is exactly the kind of project that you want in this neighborhood. It's walkable. It's transit-oriented. There's a desperate need for housing in this area, especially affordable. We got approved by the neighborhood council. We were approved by, with a unanimous approval by the Soro Neighborhood Council. We had nobody in opposition at the track map hearing approval. We had Ms. Layton showed up to the appeal hearing. Unanimous approval by the Central LA Area Planning Commission. And we're here today and the appellant hasn't even showed up, which is kind of disappointing and a waste of time for this body. So if you have any questions, I'm here to answer it. I think it's a pretty straightforward case. I have our civil engineer here if you have any technical questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Brand. Thank you for showing up. We have one speaker card, and actually we don't have one speaker card because that was you, Mr. Brand. All right, we have a representative from Council District 5.
Good afternoon, honorable council members. My name is Aviv Kleinman, Planning Deputy for Councilmember Koretz's office. Councilmember Koretz's office has been following the case at 1220 South Bedford Street very closely. We support the denial of the appeal and the commencement of the project as proposed. The application is simply for a condominium tract map of a building that is already under construction. We understand that there have been no complaints regarding the current construction, and we are supportive of the project moving forward in harmony with the neighborhood. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll move that we deny the appeal filed. Second. And thereby sustain the Central Area Planning Commission's determination approving the vesting tentative tract map for the project located at 1220 South Bedford Street. Will adopt the categorical exemption and related Sequal findings and adopt the conditions of approval and findings. If there's...
And just for the record, Councilman, if you could add to the Sequal, mention Class 32.
We will add Class 32.
Thank you.
To the affirmation comments, and if there's no objection, that'll be the order. And we'll move to item number 8. Thank you so much.
Item 8, Councilman, this is an appeal by Pamela Agustin Anguiano from she represents the East Side Leadership for Equitable and Accountable Development Strategies. She's appealing the zoning administrator's determination and a site plan review as it relates to the construction of a 95-unit graduate student housing development at USC.
So we'll hear from Planning Department to start.
Good afternoon, council members. Courtney Shum with the Department of City Planning. The project before you involves an appeal of the City Planning Commission's decision to approve a zoning administrator's determination and site plan review in conjunction with the construction of a 95-unit graduate student housing development on the USC Health Sciences campus within the Northeast Los Angeles Community Plan. The new campus housing development will not increase enrollment, but is instead intended to provide greater housing options for students who currently commute to the campus. The project is part of a larger master plan development and is one of the last remaining lots to be developed on this portion of the campus. The project will utilize parking already available through the campus parking pool instead of providing parking within the proposed building. The appellant, Eastside Leads, contends that the proposed project will have an adverse impact on the nearby surrounding residential community. The appeal points are focused on the availability of street parking, the adequacy of the environmental analysis conducted for the project, and the project's relationship to the general plan. As detailed in the appeal response prepared by staff and submitted to the council file on January 10th, through the imposition of several conditions of approval, the project will be consistent with the general plan and will not adversely affect the surrounding community. Furthermore, the fourth addendum to the certified EIR adequately assessed the project's potential impacts on the surrounding environment and was prepared in accordance with Sequal. That said, staff recommends that the Plum Committee recommend for council action to deny the submitted appeal and sustain the City Planning Commission's original decision to approve the project. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you so much. If you all will be available after we hear from our applicant, appellant, and public comment speakers, of which we have a good amount. Our appellant, Ms. Aguiano, if you can come forward, you'll have 5 minutes to make the case. Somebody's doing their work. Pamela Anguiano. Going once, going twice. If you're not Pamela, you're not going to be able to speak, so I appreciate your eagerness.
Just to say that she is, I just saw her a few minutes ago, and I know she's nearby.
All right, we'll hear from the applicant and then come back. Mr. Goldsmith, Dale Goldsmith.
Good afternoon, honorable committee members. Dale Goldsmith. I'm a partner with the law firm of Armbruster, Goldsmith & Delvac, representing the applicant ACC. Here with me today are Brett Hanel and Charlie Macdonald of ACC, and Sarah Drobus of Gibson Transportation Consulting, or GTC, the project traffic engineer. I'd like to commend staff on a very thorough staff report and presentation. I only have a few things to add. I'd like to first direct your attention to my letter dated January 11th, 2015. We passed out additional copies this afternoon. We're requesting 2 minor technical corrections relating to the location of the shared parking and the EV parking. We've discussed these issues with staff in the council office and believe that they're in support of these minor technical changes. In addition, we're proposing a voluntary local hire condition during construction, and that's based on input from both CD14 and USC, who is ground leasing the site to our client. This condition includes a commitment by ACC to have a designated employee to implement the local hire program and to provide up to $100,000 for local jobs training. I'd like to briefly respond to some of the items in the appeal, although I thought that staff did a very good job. First and foremost, I think the appellants are confused as to who is the project applicant. As I mentioned before, ACC is the applicant. They're an independent company. They're not affiliated with USC. They'll enter into a long-term ground lease with USC for the student housing project, but they will develop the project and operate it at their sole cost and expense. ACC developed the adjacent student housing project, Curry Hall, which is completely full and in fact has a waiting list. There's a great demand for student housing on this campus. Contrary to the appeal, there are no adverse traffic impacts and parking impacts associated with this project. The applicant is seeking, and the CPC approved, a zoning administrator's determination for shared parking in the adjacent 1,200 stall garage that is owned and operated by USC. The city has previously granted similar approvals at the Health Science campus, both for the existing student housing and a hotel that's under construction nearby. Most of the students at the Health Science campus live off campus and commute, so their cars are already parked on campus today. Therefore, the project will not increase parking demand. Rather, instead of arriving in the morning and leaving at night, thereby clogging the roadways, the students will be able to live on campus and only commute or travel in their cars in the off-peak hours or on weekends, and they're able to patronize local businesses. Gibson Transportation prepared a shared parking analysis that demonstrates no significant adverse parking impacts. That was reviewed and approved by both the Planning Department and LADOT and was endorsed by the City Planning Commission in their unanimous approval of the project. The appellants are also asking that the project provide public benefits. However, the project is providing public benefits, and these include providing needed housing that will further transform the Health Science campus from a commuter school into an integrated world-class campus, promoting sustainability with green building features, including rooftop solar and gray water on site, reducing both AM and PM peak hour trips by allowing students who are currently commuting to live on campus, generating economic activity in the area by providing housing on campus that will enable students to patronize local businesses, contributing almost $600,000 in parks fees for the benefit of the surrounding community. As I mentioned, implementing a local hiring program during construction and contributing up to $100,000 for training, and combating displacement and gentrification by creating new student housing without displacing any existing housing, and reducing the need for students to look off campus for housing because the housing will be convenient and on campus. And therefore, we would respectfully request that you deny the appeal and uphold the CPC's unanimous approval of the project with the 2 minor technical corrections and the added voluntary condition relating to jobs training and the local hire and the contribution to jobs training. I'm available for any questions you may have. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you so much. So our appellant has
This
arrived.
is the appellant.
Thank you so much. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too, Chair, Mr. Harris Dawson. If I could have 5 minutes on the time?
You're on.
Perfect, thank you. Well, thank you, council members. My name is Pamela, and I'm the lead organizer of Eastside Leads. We are a coalition of residents and community organizations from Boyle Heights, Lincoln Heights, El Sereno, and unincorporated East LA. And we have been working together for over 2 years to ensure that development in our communities and investment in our communities are guided by the needs and priorities of the residents first and foremost, without leading to displacement. Council members, my coalition appealed this project, the decision of the City Planning Commission, because our concerns up to that moment that we had continuously expressed since June 26 of last year had not been addressed by the applicant and USC. Furthermore, there had been no effort by these two entities to meet with our members and to seriously discuss the community benefits that would ensure that all residents were benefited from these developments. As a result, from this first initial community hearing that the City Planning Commission held in June 26th, we continued to apply pressure to engage community over the last 6 months, and we urged USC and the developer to engage with us, which they did at the end of last year. But I am pleased that our appeal led to this very fruitful talk with the developer and USC. We see the commitments made by the university and the developer, the applicant, as a step in the right direction, but really more work needs to be done to continue nurturing transparency and accountability by this institution, the University of Southern California. After all, the university has a 30-year development plan in its health science campus. And the project that we're discussing today is one piece of it. So today we look forward to continuing to build on what the engagement of this appeal has led to. We hope that what this conversation started means that the university will start discussing a community engagement and intentional community benefits framework for the university's overall health science master plan. In the future, we hope that USC learns from this process and continues to engage our community groups as they started to do so in this process. As Eastside Leads, as I shared, we believe that current residents must guide and benefit from new development instead of being excluded from the planning process. Again, given the fruitful talks that have started with respect to this specific project and the commitments that the applicant and USC have made in their letters to you, the committee, we are no longer opposing this project and we are withdrawing our appeal. We are thankful to Council District 14 staff for mediating the conversations that led to this decision. But also, I want to encourage all of you as the Planning and Land Use Management Committee. We need your support because our communities are facing displacement from gentrification. We need you on our side, and we hope that today starts and continues a conversation where we can work with you as well for long-lasting solutions against displacement. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Glad you were able to make it. I'm just going to ask this and plead ignorance. It sounds like everybody's getting along and there's no longer an appeal. Do we have to do public comment and a vote on this?
Yeah, I think that the public comment should proceed if there's speakers that want to speak.
All right. So there are 22 people that have signed up to speak on this, and I'll start calling their names because, yes, sir, Mr. Cedillo.
Let me suggest that you may want to ask them if they want to exercise that option. They have a right, but they're not required to.
That's right.
And that they could decide if they want to make a speech or they want to celebrate a victory. That's their choice. They have a right to do that. You may want to ask them that question.
That's right. That's right. You can get started on an early happy hour should you so choose. So I have, again, I can read the names.
Sure.
Or I can ask folks, if you signed up to speak on this item number 8 and you wish to speak in light of the agreement that folks have come through, can you raise your hand? All right, they're people, so I'll read the names. All right, Jennifer Lahoda, Edwin Rodriguez, Cynthia Sandoval.
Hello, council members. Thank you for your time. My name is Jennifer Lahoda, and I'm the president of the Boyle Heights Chamber of Commerce, as well as a resident and a business owner in Boyle Heights. I'd like to say, in light of Pamela's comments, I'm very happy to hear that there has been some agreement and that people have come together in this process. I'd also like to say that it's been the Chamber's experience that USC has been present and engaging in this process. And they have engaged with the community, with the members of the Chamber, and they know that it's an ongoing process. So I'm here in support of that, and I think it's wonderful that things are moving forward in this direction. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Edwin Rodriguez. A resident of Boyle Heights. I work for the Homeback Police Activities League. I am too here in support of the USC project, and I'm glad to hear that it's going to move forward. Just want to remind you that USC has had very long-standing history of partnering with community, and the projects that they've undertaken have developed a lot of great things in our communities, improved the quality of life of our residents. And I thank you, and I thank everybody here for allowing this project to move forward. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you. Before I recognize our next speaker, I want to just acknowledge that we've had in the room today State Senator Kevin Murray with us today, and then former leadership of the Los Angeles Police Department. Chief Earl Pasinger has been with us today as well. And our next speaker is Senator Marcia Escucia.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chamber and members. My name is Marcia Escutia, a native daughter of East Los Angeles, but I am here in my position as Vice President for the University of Southern California. And I'm very happy that we don't have an appeal any longer. And I'm also very happy that we have people who are coming forth to tell you that USC is indeed a good neighbor, that we have spent decades trying to lift up the communities surrounding our campuses, both UPC as well as the Health Science Campus. I would just like to take this time to thank not only the developer, ACC, but also the staff of CD14, who has been just phenomenal in terms of their professionalism and our discussions about local hire, which to me is something very important, because I feel that as the university goes onto their economic development process, that we also lift with us our neighboring communities into that same type of economic prosperity. So we're serious about this local hire. We hope it will be the linchpin for future local hire projects in that campus. And we also put in $100,000 for a training fund. Thank you so much, members.
Senator. We have Jacqueline Rodriguez, Michelle Benavidez, Lucy Herrera.
Good afternoon. My name is Jacqueline Rodriguez. I'm a resident of Boyle Heights and part of the Ramona Gardens community. I graduated from Occidental College, and I'm currently working with Legacy LA as a leadership program coordinator. I'm here worried about the impact of USC's major expansion in our community, because they have already received their entitlements for development without any community benefits agreement or plan. I don't think this would happen in any other community in LA. Over the course of 6 months, because that's when we found out about this project, it became obvious that our community is no longer satisfied with words or promises that, quite frankly, often become lost in thousands of positive intentions that developers offer them. We demand written promises, contracts, and a way to hold these institutions accountable, because we are capable of engaging in these kinds of conversations. While I'm still worried about USC's future expansion, I am comfortable supporting this project after securing a few benefits for our community. I look forward to continue working with USC to develop an intentional community benefits agreement for all future development, not just for the students of their campus. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michelle Benavidez, and I am a Boyle Heights resident, Ramona Gardens community leader, and the Ramona Gardens Residential Advisory Council Vice President. Although I am here removing my opposition to the graduate student housing project, I want the council to also hear my concerns about this process. It took over 6 months of community organizing and advocacy to get to this point. And it was obvious that if we have not done so, the project would have been approved without any community benefits. If it wasn't for our residents and youth mobilizing, we would not be here today. Throughout this process, we have learned that while everyone that develops in our community makes promises or says they are doing outreach, we now realize that it is important to demand things in writing so that we ensure that the community receives the benefits it deserves. We also want to engage with institutions because only we as residents know what benefits us. With that being said, we support this project, and we're glad that both the developers and USC will be putting some things in writing. And while we are still worried about the future developments of USC, we are looking forward to be able to work in partnership with the university.
That's your time. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lucy Herrera, and I grew up in the Ramona Gardens community, and I work in Boyle Heights. First off, I want to start off by saying we appreciate the council supporting us in advocating that we have local hire with the USC Grad Student Housing Project and supporting to get community members jobs that they deserve. However, we achieve this goal only through the activation of the community by the community, and our fear is that for every future development, our community will continue to fight. To fight against displacement and gentrification, and to fight for benefits that nourish our community. Our community needs a robust community benefits agreement. We also need transparency because we as residents know what we want and need, and we should be involved throughout the whole process, from initial planning to construction of the project to the end. That would be the first step to building trust and a positive and lasting community partnership. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Tammy Membrano, Joseph Munoz, Susana Moncada, Roberto Melendez. You can feel free to forego your time if you'd like. Connie Melendez, Bence Rosales, Casey Ventura, Blanca Espinosa.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Tammy Membreño. I'm the Executive Director of Barrio Action Youth and Family Center. We have two locations, one in El Sereno and Lincoln Heights, and I'm here in support of the project this afternoon. We think that this is an opportunity for us to work with the developers and to have a hiring training program. We want this project to move forward so that we can develop those tools and future jobs and trainings pathways for our youth and our community members in both areas. We believe that this program is critical and will set precedent for future projects at USC Health Sciences campus. We also look forward to future discussions with USC on what they can do to partner with the community to bring additional benefits to our communities. I'm here in support of the project. Thank you.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Susana Moncada, yo vivo en Boyle High y vengo a apoyar a la USC porque yo soy una promotora.
Hold on, un momento.
Soy una promotora.
There you go.
Okay. Okay. ¿Está bien? Sorry. Gracias. Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Susana Moncada.
Good afternoon. My name is Susana Moncada.
Y yo vivo en la comunidad de Boyle High.
I live in the community of Boyle Heights.
Vengo a apoyar a la USC.
I come here to support USC.
Como promotora de salud.
As a promoter of health.
Y andamos en las comunidades viendo las necesidades de nuestra comunidad.
We go to the community seeing the necessity of our community.
Sabemos que nuestra comunidad está falta de comunicaciones.
We know that our community lacks communication.
Esta falta de la socioeconómica de nuestro país.
We are lacking social, economic in our country.
En el cual USC ha sido uno de los factores más importantes en nuestra comunidad.
USC has been one of the most important factors in this community.
como proyectos que tiene para Boyle High y para Ramona Garden.
With the projects that he has, USC has for Boyle House and Ramona Gardens.
Y no solo esas comunidades, porque como promotora andamos viendo las necesidades de nuestra comunidad.
Not only for those communities, because I am a promoter, I'm an organizer, and what we're seeing is the benefit of our community.
Yo les pido a ustedes y al público a que nos apoyen a estos proyectos.
We ask you and the public to support us in these projects.
Porque cada uno de ustedes tiene una misión.
Because each one of you guys have a mission.
De poder ayudar a nuestra gente.
To support our people.
Ustedes saben que nuestra comunidad está falta de comunicación.
You know, our community lacks communication.
Sin embargo, USC está presente en todo.
But USC is there all the time.
En sus manos le dejo, porque USC tiene muchos proyectos, y si les cortamos las alas a ellos, ¿qué va a ser de nuestra gente?
I leave it up to you, because USC has a lot of projects, and if you don't help us, what is going to happen to us, you know?
Le doy tareas a ustedes, a cada uno de ustedes y al público.
This is your homework for you, each one of you and the public.
Que nos unamos para nuestra comunidad.
That's your time.
To join together for our community.
Muchísimas gracias. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you so much.
We need translation one more time.
Buenas tardes, señores miembros.
Good afternoon, members of the council.
Mi nombre es Roberto y yo vivo en la comunidad de Boyle Heights y Ramona Garden por 20 años.
My name is Robert, and I live in the community of Boyle House and Ramona Garden for 20 years.
Vengo a hablar de mi amiga que tuvo cáncer y ella me motivó a dar estos talleres para que tantas mujeres y hombres se hagan sus pruebas anuales.
I come here on behalf of my friend. She had cancer, and she's the one that motivated me to give these educational talks for women and men, so they can undergo this annual test.
Si USC no hubiera apoyado este proyecto, habría muchas mujeres como mi amiga sufriendo en el silencio sin saber nada qué hacer.
If USC had not approved this project, then there are a lot of women like my friend that are suffering in silence without knowing what to do.
Yo doy gracias a USC por este gran proyecto de cáncer. Ahora junto con ellos estamos dando información de talleres de diabetes.
I thank so much USC for this wonderful project about cancer. Right now we are giving some talks about information about diabetic.
Que para hacer una epidemia, estamos seguros que con estos talleres a la comunidad haremos conciencia igual que lo hicimos con el cáncer.
Because diabetes is becoming an epidemic, and we know that for sure if we do our outreach to the community, we will bring conscience to the community so they know what to do, like they do now with cancer.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
Buenas tardes, señores.
Good afternoon.
Mi nombre es Joseph Muñoz.
My name is Joseph Muñoz.
Al principio de los 80 yo bajé del norte de California hacia el Valle de San Fernando.
At the beginning of the 80s, I went down from the north of California to the San Fernando Valley.
Y por más de 30 años viví en la ciudad de San Fernando específicamente.
And more than 30 years I live in the city of San Fernando.
Desde que nació mi primera hija me involucré en las necesidades de mis hijos.
Since my first daughter was born, I was involved in the necessities of my children.
Yo no soy líder en mi comunidad, ahora vivo en Ramona Gardens.
I am not a leader of my community. Now I live in Ramona Gardens.
Pero soy líder de mi familia y tengo 6 hijos.
But I am the leader of my family, and I have 6 children.
Y me preocupa su futuro.
And I'm concerned about their future.
Yo estoy aquí para celebrar la victoria que se ha aprobado, pero también quiero que tomen en cuenta personas de mi edad para que nos den trabajo.
I am here to celebrate the victory that we just achieved, but I'm here also to ask you to take into consideration people of my age.
A mi edad tengo 14 cirugías, manos, rodillas y espalda.
At my age, I have 14 surgeries, hands, knees, and back.
Pero todavía todavía tengo el poder de trabajar.
But I have the power to work.
Me he encontrado en contra de mi edad y de mis enfermedades.
I have to deal with that against my age and my illness.
Yo espero que USC nos dé la oportunidad a personas como yo.
I expect USC to give us the opportunity for people like us, like me.
Gracias por escucharme.
Thank you so much for listening to me.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Casey Ventura. I'm a youth organizer with Inner City Struggle and a member of the Eastside Leads. I work with high school students in Northeast Los Angeles, and I'm a resident of South Central Los Angeles. This USC housing project is just a step for a bigger project and an opportunity to support the surrounding community and the youth within the area. USC and the city already contribute to youth development. Considering what's going on right now, there could always be room for improvement, especially for our students coming from a working class communities like the area this project is affecting. I would love to see investment into youth development programs that is distributed equitably among the area. Programs that mentor youth, support academics, the arts, music, and STEM. I would love to see better support systems with the hiring of teachers, counselors, and psychologists to address the world we live in right now and the history behind it. And finally, I am waiting for more investment to local schools within the area. Better funding for infrastructure in schools like Wilson, Lincoln, Bravo, Momona Elementary, Santa Teresa, and I look forward to hearing from USC about these. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Unless there's a speaker from Council District 14. Oh, there is.
Good afternoon, Council members. Azim Khan Malik, Planning Deputy with Council District 14. We, as an office, are in support of this project. We believe the project will benefit the community by providing additional student housing on campus, reducing the competition for existing units in the community. Over the past 2 months, CD14 has been engaged with both the appellant, the applicant, and USC to try to come up with an amicable solution. And as you heard from the appellant, I believe we have. We understand the appellant and the community's concerns, and we believe over the last 2 months of work, USC has understood the need for increased community engagement with the community moving forward. However, we do believe that USC has demonstrated a willingness to be a good neighbor and a good community partner and invest in the community by helping to expand the Ramona Gardens library hours, help provide access to computers to local residents, and expand local business programs. In addition, as stated, the project has committed to a 25% local hiring goal, as well as a local procurement goal to help provide increased jobs and training to the area. They've also gone above and beyond by agreeing to provide a $100,000 fund to help the local hires have adequate opportunities. We as an office are in support of this project. However, we do support it with the inclusion of an additional condition, which I will read into the record, that within 30 days of the final project approval, the applicant shall enter into an agreement with the appellants satisfactory to CD14, limited to the commitments outlined in the applicant's letter dated January 11th, 2019. We believe with the inclusion of this condition, committing to the local hire program, this project will provide a benefit to the entire community. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Council District 14. So, Mr. Mejia, you've heard the request from Council District 14. We want to take an action that denies the appeal on the conditions as outlined by Council District 14, particularly as it relates to entering into a community benefits agreement. The approval pending entering a community benefits agreement.
So the action would be, Councilman, to deny the appeal, to approve the environmental conditions, the EIR, and the Sequal findings, and to adopt the technical corrections that are submitted in the January 11th letter by the project applicant, Goldsmith and Delvac, and to also include the condition by CD14 as it relates to the local hiring program and coming back within 30 days.
Excellent. I'll move those instructions. Second by Mr. Blumenfeld. Hearing no objection, that'll be the order.
In addition, Councilman, we need to adopt the the first addendum to the EIR, the second addendum, third and fourth addendum, the errata and the statement of overriding considerations, and the mitigation measures and the mitigation monitoring program.
So ordered without objection? All right, so I believe now we have to adjourn this regular meeting and open a special meeting.
Correct.
Here, one item, which you'll read into the record, Mr. Mejia.
Yes, so item 9 on the regular agenda, Councilman, has become now item 1 on the special agenda for purposes of the language as relates to the environmental clearance. What's before you is an appeal by Dean Walroff. This is an appeal as relates to the action of the Building and Safety Commissioners, which approve a haul route to export 33,120 cubic yards of earth at the property at 11601 West Dunstan Way in CD 11.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Congratulations to the developer, to the university, and to the community organizations. Thank you all so much. Please try to help us out as you exit as we're hearing another item. Thank you all so much. All right.
Thumbs up, no fight on them.
So we'll have a report from our planning department. Yes.
Good afternoon, council members. Veronica Lopez with the Department of Building and Safety. This haul route was heard and approved on December 4th, 2018 by the Board of Building and Safety Commissioners, and the MND was adopted as a board action. I'm available for any question regarding this haul route, and City Planning is present to answer any questions regarding the MND.
All right. Is our appellant here, Mr. Walroff? Come on forward. You have 5 minutes.
I thank the panel members for this opportunity to speak on this issue in support of the appeal. This is just a haul route approval, but it is the only discretionary entitlement for this project. So it effectively constitutes the city's approval of the entire building project. The previous haul route, which was approved in 2016, was essentially identical to this one, and this one is moving forward under the MND that was approved at that time. Then the project was just left sitting for the years in between. There was a lawsuit back from the 2016 approval. There was an appeal like this one to the City Council, and then there was a lawsuit which was settled. So it didn't really resolve the legal issues in any sense between the parties at this time. Some of the problems with this haul route come from the way the private road called Dunstan Way is set up physically. It's 26 feet wide, and 20 feet of it belong to 514 South Barrington, which is the building where my clients live, and the other 6 feet of the width belong to the project. So it's a flag lot with a 6-foot wide access, and it's pretty clear that the haul route cannot be, the hauling that is being approved for the haul route cannot be done just on that 6-foot segment. So LAMC 91.7006.6 requires a notarized written consent of the property owner whenever grading requires entry onto neighboring properties. And the applicant here has not obtained that consent. The applicant's letter submitted into the record yesterday for this hearing argues that the consent is implied by the private street dedication on Dunstan Way. But the municipal code, mentioning notarized consent is pretty explicit, and we don't think that the private road dedication, the previous one, it's not part of this project, but that provides the consent that's required under the municipal code. Another issue is site plan review. The LAMC 16.05 requires site plan review whenever, for any project that, quote, creates or results in an increase of 50 or more dwelling units. This project will demolish the existing buildings on the project site and create 54 new dwelling units. Applicant's letter argues, well, city planning interprets that provision to mean whenever there's a net increase, you have to do site plan review. Whenever there's a net increase of 50 or more units. The problem is that reading, I mean, what it says is when the project creates or results in an increase of 50 or more units, their reading just reads out the creates part. If the municipal code said, well, if it results in more than 50 more dwelling units, they'd have an argument. But their reading just violates the legal interpretation principle of you can't just read it in such a way that part of the provisions are given no effect at all, which is what they're doing here. So the site plan review is required, and that feeds a little bit into Sequal. They're going under an expired, well, not expired, they're going under an old MND. I argued in the letter and don't have time to say more about it here, but the expired permit means that they're going to have to redesign the project to the new building standards. The site plan review is required, and you should not approve the project without that review. And then these additions, essentially new aspects of the project, should be given a secret review beyond what was done in the previous MND. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I have public comment speaker Dave Rand.
Good afternoon, Chair Harris-Dawson, honorable committee members. Dave Rand with the law firm of Armbruster, Goldsmith, and Delvac, here today representing the applicant. It's a bit of a concern, committee members, that we don't know who the appellant, Mr. Waldorf, represents. What I think is notable is who is not here today joining the appeal, and that is the stakeholders and interest groups in this area that my client has spent the better part of the last 3 to 4 years working with to get comfortable with the project that will be part of their neighborhood and to help address some of the concerns that they had about construction and impacts and what have you. The Brentwood Community Council, the Brentwood Homeowners Association, the HOA immediately next to our project site, all have decided to withdraw or refrain from opposing this project because we have gotten them comfortable. So we are left with one appellant on a project that is 100% consistent with all zoning regulations, that seeks no exceptions, deviations, bonuses, incentives of any kind, and only requires a haul route to excavate dirt that's needed for the subterranean parking structure. Mr. Waldorf alluded to a prior MND. He called it expired. It is anything but. It was an MND that was approved in connection with a prior haul route approval that expired, that is now beyond the challenge period and deemed valid and legally conclusive on all persons and parties. What that means is there is no new environmental document to be adopted today. The Board of Building and Safety Commissioners, in their action to uphold and approve the haul route, made specific Sequal findings indicating that there are no new information or changed circumstances that would result in any need for subsequent environmental review. That is a very limited and focused Sequal determination, and it's a very easy call. And it's an easy call because there is absolutely no changes to this project or the haul route than was approved back in 2016 under the prior haul route and under the prior, now final, MND. In response to Mr. Waldorf's objection with respect to lack of consent, the provision of the municipal code he cites is when a haul route is needed to encroach on adjacent property. This is a very different situation. My client is adjacent, their property is adjacent to a recorded private street. We submitted lengthy information into the record identifying that particular private street recordation and the map that it was associated with. A private street, by definition, grants an adjacent property owner like my client an easement and the right to utilize that street for roadway purposes, which would include hauling activity. So this is not a situation whereby we need to obtain the consent of adjacent property owners given that right to the private street, as opposed to the haul route encroaching on the neighboring property. Site plan review and entitlement that is required for a net increase of 50 units or more is not required here based on long-standing planning department and city interpretation of section 1605 of the municipal code, the site plan review ordinance. We provided information in our letter that there have been official zoning administrator interpretations on that section that clarify it is only to be required when there is a net increase of 50 units here. Because of prior units that existed on the property, we only have a net increase of 19 units. Therefore, the entitlement is not necessary. And the permit that is currently in plan check in the Building and Safety Department, although it's not technically germane to the haul route approval, just for the record, it has been legally extended pursuant to a municipal code provision that allows the extension of a plan check period, so the permit is still alive. And for those reasons, we request respectfully that you deny the appeal and find that there is no need for subsequent environmental review in connection with Public Resources Code Section 21166 and Sequal Guidelines 15162. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. So if there's no further discussion on this matter, we'll move. Sorry, Building and Safety, do folks want to address any of the issues brought up by the applicant or the appellant?
The applicant addressed all the issues.
Sure. If there are issues you want to address, I don't believe the members have any particular ones that we point. Okay, great. Okay, so we need to move to deny this appeal, but I think there are special instructions.
So it'll be a denial, Councilman, and to approve the environmental clearance, the M&D, the mitigation measures, the mitigation monitoring program. And sorry. So the environmental finding, Councilman, as noted on the special agenda, will be that the project was assessed under mitigated negative deck as adopted on November the 8th, 2016, rather than 2018, to correct that on the agenda, and pursuant to Sequal Guidelines, Section 15162, and therefore no subsequent EIR or MND is necessary.
All right. Hearing no objection, that'll be the order. All right. With that, we can adjourn our special meeting.
Yes, and going back to item 9, which is this.
You got a comment card? What name did you go under? I don't see your name. You can come up. Come on up. Huh?
So, Councilman.
Which item were you trying to speak on?
On the special meeting.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the special meeting.
So we're still on the special meeting.
All right, so we'll take this. We'll take this as general public comment.
Thank you
for the special meeting.
Nice to see you, Mr. Smith, back here again. Appreciate it. I always appreciated your good work, especially on the Ratepayers Advocate back in 2011. Thank you. This committee should adjourn its actions. Nobody trusts you. As a result of the raid on Jose Huizar's office and home by the FBI, the involvement of the Internal Revenue Service in his affairs, and the recent article in the Los Angeles Times regarding the search warrant, which named two members of this committee, Mr. Price, who is not here, and Mr. Huizar, who has been relieved of his duties. Nobody trusts you guys. You read the paper. It's nothing but dirt on you guys. You have no trust, and you ought to abandon this meeting. Don't upzone any of these properties that you're talking about that have been, where you guys have benefited from significant financial contributions. Abandon this meeting. Adjourn this meeting. Thank you very much.
We're so happy we allowed you to speak. So that adjourns our meeting, and we'll go back, return to the regular meeting.
Sure. And now going back to the regular meeting, Councilman. Item 9 on the regular agenda, since it's been taken care of as part of item 1 on the special agenda, we should simply receive and file that item.
Okay, so we'll receive and file
9.
without objection.
And subsequently, Councilman, the next item is item 11.
Yes.
That's an appeal by Eli Malkin. He's appealing the environmental clearance, the categorical exemption for the demolition of 2 duplexes and to construct 39 multifamily units in CD 13.
Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Nuri Cho with City Planning. The item before you is a Sequal appeal of the Class 32 categorical exemption for a 7-story, 39-unit apartment project in the Hollywood Community Plan and the Vermont Western Specific Plan areas. The appeal points are related to the project's inconsistency with the Hollywood Redevelopment Plan, project impacts on transportation and historical resources, and cumulative impact of successive projects of the same type in the same place. All of these appeal points repeat the same concerns that were raised at the first level appeal, which was denied by the Central Area Planning Commission back in November of 2018. And the staff recommendation report transmitted to you in the council file fully addresses all of the concerns. However, staff would like to further clarify that the CRA reviewed the proposed project and provided a building permit clearance approving the proposed project in December of 2018. The Department of Transportation also reviewed the project and confirmed that the project is not expected to have significant transportation impacts and that a traffic study is not required. Additionally, none of the 3 properties cited by the appellant as historical resources in his appeal are located directly adjacent to the site. The project would not directly affect any historical resources and would remain separated from the 3 properties by existing development. And lastly, the 4 other projects cited by the appellant for cumulative impacts are much larger mixed-use development projects that are not considered the same type of project as the proposed apartment building. In addition, 3 of the projects are located more than 750 feet away from the project site and therefore are not considered successive projects of the same type in the same place. Based on these information, staff recommends that the Plum Committee deny the appeal and determine that the project is categorically exempt from Sequal. And this concludes staff presentation, and I'll be available for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Cho. We have an appellant, Ms. Malkin. Or Mr. Malkin.
Thank you, Honorable Council members. I submitted through Ms. Dickinson 7 color photos that I believe should be...
Can you tell us your name?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Ellie Malkin, and I am the owner of...
Greetings, Mr. Malkin. Sorry for...
Thank you, sir. There you go. I would respectfully draw your attention to the color photos that were submitted through Ms. Dickinson, and would ask that you refer to the 4 of them that relates to the alley entrance that runs between Carlton Way and Sunset Boulevard. If you look at it, it's about 11 feet wide. It can accommodate 1 car at a time. Right now, it is the only means of ingress and egress for all the for the property on Sunset Boulevard, which is a 41-unit property, and a number of buildings on both sides of the proposed project. It is it's difficult as it is. The project is going to add another 259 daily trips on an alley that's already way beyond capacity. The purpose of providing you some of the overhead views is that you could see the proximity to the Grant Elementary School, where children are going to be running across the sidewalk the same way the jogger is in the picture without paying attention, and it just increases the possibility of health and safety concerns. In addition, its proximity to the Hollywood and Wilton intersection is going to cause a tremendous backup in traffic, and not to mention the difficulty for the tenants themselves that are already there and already trying to utilize the project. 259 daily trips within the whole framework of Hollywood is not very much. That's not that significant. But 259 daily trips in the context of this specific alley, which is the only way in, and it's a one-way alley, is dramatic. And that was not looked at all by staff. It was not at all addressed by the traffic department. And so to conclude that it definitely will not have a substantial effect defies logic. It certainly seems that it could have a substantial and significant effect, and for that reason alone, it should not be entitled to a categorical exemption. The other photos I would respectfully draw your attention to are the overhead photos that show Historical 1, Historical 2, and Historical 3. These are all Category 3 buildings that are potentially qualifiable to be in the National Register of Historic Places or in the State Register of Historic Places. If you look at Sunset Boulevard at the property that's designated 3 stories over 1 level of parking, and you double the size, that will give you a sense as to what's going up on the subject property. It's going to loom over the 3 historical structures. The fact that there's no setback whatsoever is going to obscure them from view. It's going to add substantial shadowing, in addition to destroying the whole character of this neighborhood. And so again, I would respectfully suggest that to conclude that this definitively will not have a significant impact is simply not justified. These types of things merit further review and should be subject to the rigors of a Sequal investigation. I think that's what I'm not going to rehash everything that's in my moving papers, but in advance, thank you very much for your respectful consideration.
Thank you. All right, we have the applicant, Mr. Hayden.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Matthew Hayden. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today on behalf of the applicant for the proposed project. I'd like to make a few points this afternoon with regard to the appeal that's before you today. It won't take a lot of time, but I think the first thing to note very directly and very simply is that this project has been reviewed by staff. It has been recommended for approval by staff. It has been approved by the Director of Planning, and it had been appealed, and the appeal was considered by the Area Planning Commission, and they also denied the appeal. They've done this consistently, and they've done it because the project is consistent with the development standards that are applicable for the subject property. The entitlement before you is a project permit compliance with the SNAP, the specific plan that's adopted for the area, and the project meets all of the development standards that are necessary for the SNAP. So there's no question about the fact that this project should go forward. If there wasn't a specific plan, the project would essentially be by right. So that main point that this project is consistent, it's been reviewed by staff. As staff mentioned, it's been reviewed by the Department of Transportation and CRA. It's been consistently determined that this project is allowed and should be able to go forward. So we would like to support staff's recommendation, obviously, and ask that you deny the appeal and allow this project to go forward. It's a housing project. It includes affordable units, and it will benefit the community and address that housing need for the surrounding area in a project that is consistent with the specific plan. We submitted a letter to the public file on January 13th that more specifically delved into all of the various points that the appellant has raised with regard to the project. That letter basically came to the conclusion, as staff has said, that the appeal on the Sequal issues is without merit. There is not facts, there is not information. The appellant has not provided studies or information that supports their claims that the project shouldn't be exempt from Sequal. So we feel that the fact that the appellant has not raised a strong case, the fact that this case is consistent with the specific plan, are all good reasons for you to deny this appeal and allow this project to move forward. I think the final thing that we would mention is the appellant is not a tenant or a resident on the site. He's a property owner. We feel that the appellant doesn't like our project, and he's using every means that he can to oppose the project. The appellant purchased the property in 2007. The SNAP has been in place since 2000. The community plan zoning has been in place for many, many years. If if he didn't like what this project would allow, this isn't the right area to be in. We're doing something that we think will benefit the community and is consistent with the zoning for the property, and we think that the appeal should be denied. So with that, we appreciate the time to speak to you today. We're available if you have any further questions, but otherwise we hope that the project can move forward and serve the community. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, we have a number of public comment speakers on this. Call your name. You have 1 minute to speak. Brian Curran, Bradley McDonald, Yelena Tomasian.
Brian Curran, Hollywood Heritage. I come on behalf of Hollywood Heritage, Hollywood's premier preservation organization. Hollywood Heritage objects to the categorical exemption for this project due to the fact that there are 2 potentially historic properties due to be demolished. A recent settlement mandated a historic resources survey that is currently being carried out and has yet to be certified. These 2 properties were identified as potential resources on a previous survey and we are waiting findings of the current survey to determine their significance. We are also disappointed that Hollywood Heritage was not approached by the developer, nor were we informed of the imminent demolition of these properties. We are also concerned that this project's size and density is out of scale with the surrounding neighborhood, and its approval will set a precedent for all future development. Thank you.
Hello there, I'm Bradley McDonald. I am a tenant of a property 2 buildings away from the proposed development. I've lived there for 9 years. Over the years, there have been a lot of issues with that alley. It is a one-way in, one-way out. You cannot go in and turn around. 2 cars cannot go in at the same time. As Mr. Malkin said, there is 259 vehicles going in and out of that alleyway every day. To add this building would increase that more, which will put a hardship on the tenants that live out there already. Getting in and out when I have to go to work, it's not easy. You know, sometimes you have to sit there and wait for cars to go. You can't pull off to the side to let them go in. It's a right turn only, but people don't turn right. They turn left to go to the freeway, which blocks all the traffic trying to get in and out. That's what I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Do I get 2 minutes like everyone else did?
Here, 1 minute.
Well, I'm going to use my minute to the best of my ability. My name is Yelena, and I live at 5623 Carlton Way, and I live on the block right next to the block where this proposed building is going up, and I believe this project is way too damn big. Okay, so originally it was granted 20 units with only 39 parking spots, and then it was bumped to 39 units with only 34 parking spots, taking away parking spots, doubling the occupancy. My building is 35 units, 40 parking spots, and we have a wait list. And there is a petition that I filed with Sharon. This is something that I did in my building, and my manager signed this petition saying that we don't have enough street parking. There's a school across the street from my building, so you can't park between 6 a.m. and 4 p.m., and there's already a wait list in my building. In every building, there's 2, 3, 4 people living per apartment because rent is so expensive. So if you take a building of that size, that's about 34, 39 units, and you want 2 driving adults per unit, you're talking about 80 people per building who need to drive with only 34 parking spots. And in LA, 86% of people drive. 40 cars are going in the street, but we already don't have enough space for them. Therefore, decrease the size of the project, and please grant permission to the appeal. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Ron Miller, Jacob Rabanian.
By the way, I sent this to a letter to Mitchell Farrell.
Hi, my name is Jacob Rabani, and I'm with the applicant on the project. I just want to clarify something for the record. We did receive a letter from Hollywood Heritage back before starting the development that the property was not historical. And I did, hear something about the alley. I also did want to mention that there is a 4-foot alley dedication that will be provided for the project. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Are you going to speak or not? All right, Mr. Haynes.
Good afternoon. My name is Doug Haynes, and just for the record, I want to point out that this Sequal appeal was filed in late November and is being heard today, while my neighborhood association has 4 Sequal appeals pending before this committee since last February. Not only have not been heard, but you've allowed building permits and demolition to proceed on those projects. So it's completely arbitrary and capricious, and it seems that the only thing that the city listens to in this matter is litigation. I'm the chair of the planning committee for the 2 neighborhood councils for this area, including this project site. I want to point out that I've submitted to you a letter showing 15 projects just within our neighborhood council zone that includes 371 proposed units. For the 15 projects where currently there exists only 15 units, to say that it's cumulatively not significant is absurd. I also want to point out the planning department's own stats show that 65% of all entitlements currently before planning are TOC projects, 9,909 units.
Thank you.
Thank you for not listening to me in my one lousy minute.
All right, do we have a representative from council district on this? Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Craig Bullock, and I'm with Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell's office. The council office is supportive of the staff recommendation before you today and the denial of the appeal. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. Unless staff would like to address any of the particular issues that came up, we will proceed unless there are things you'd like to add to the record.
No, I don't have anything to add. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, so we'll move to deny this appeal. If you could read instructions to us in that regard.
Sure. So the action, Councilman, is to deny the appeal by Eli Malkin, thereby sustain the action of the Central Area Planning Commission's determined to grant a categorical exemption from Sequal for the project located at 5717 West Carlton Way in CD 13.
Excellent. Hearing no objection, that'll be the order. That leaves us with items number 12 and 13.
Yes.
If you could read those into the record.
Sure. Councilman, items 12 and 13 are interrelated. The appeals are distinct. Number 12 relates to the approval of the vesting tract map for this mixed-use project that contains 950 residential apartments and 308 hotel rooms. Item number 13 relates to the land use entitlements that are being appealed as relates to the conditional use, the site plan, and the density bonus for the same project located in CD 13.
All right, we have a report from staff on both of these matters, if you all can proceed.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Will Lamborn, planning staff. So before you today are appeals on the City Planning Commission's approval of the Crossroads Hollywood project and second-level appeals on the vesting tentative tract map. The project retains and rehabilitates the Crossroads of the World, the former Hollywood Reporter Building, and the Bullinger Building, and removes all other existing improvements on the project site in order to construct a mixed-use development on an 8.34-acre site in the Hollywood Community Plan area. The project, including existing uses to be retained within the Crossroads of the World complex, and the uses to be included in the former Hollywood Reporter Building and the Bullinger Building, includes approximately 1,381,000 square feet of floor area, consisting of 950 residential units, 308 hotel rooms, and 190 square feet of commercial and retail uses, and a new above-ground parking structure on the eastern side of the project site. Included among the residential units are 105 dwelling units for very low-income households to replace the existing 82 residential units covered by the city's rent stabilization ordinance. The proposed floor area ratio is approximately 3.8 to 1, averaged across the site. The project results in a net increase of approximately 1,208,427 square feet of floor area on the site. At its meeting of the City Planning Commission on September 13th, 2018, the Commission took the following actions. Relative to the vesting tentative tract map, the City Planning Commission certified that the Crossroads Hollywood Project EIR has been completed in compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act. and denied the appeals and sustained the decision of the Deputy Advisory Agency in approving vesting tentative tract map number 73568 for the merger and re-subdivision of a 6.86 acre site into 5 ground lots and 30 airspace lots. And relative to CPC case 2015-2025, the Commission found that the project was assessed in the previously certified Crossroads Hollywood Project Environmental Impact Report, and no subsequent EIR or addendum is required for approval of the project, and approved a density bonus with 2 on-menu and 1 off-menu incentives, a master conditional use for alcohol, a master conditional use for public dancing and live entertainment, a major development project conditional use permit, and site plan review. A total of 5 appeals were filed by 3 appellants on CPC's action. 2 appeals were filed on CPC's action relative to the vesting tentative tract map and associated environmental. 3 appeals were filed on the density bonus, conditional use permits, site plan review, and associated environmental. On December 27, 2018, a notice of withdrawal of appeal was submitted by one of the appellants relative to their appeal on both the CPC case and on the tract map. In general terms, the appeals raise points concerning affordable housing, impacts to aesthetics, air quality, land use, noise, and traffic. I won't go into detail on the appeal points now. Staff has prepared an appeal response letter dated January 10th, which addresses the appeal points in further detail. As discussed in the response letter, no substantial evidence has been presented in the appeals to dispute the findings of the EIR or the CPC's action on the related entitlements. Planning staff therefore respectfully recommends that the appeals be denied. Further, on January 14th, the applicant submitted a letter with requested clarifications and revisions to the tract map and CPC conditions. Planning concurs with the applicant's proposed revisions with the following exceptions. With respect to condition number 13, the proposed changes to this condition would allow for the concentration of the very low income density bonus units within one of the project's buildings. This would be contrary to HCID policies, in particular those that relate to the even distribution of affordable units throughout a project site. HCID has reviewed the proposed modification and does not support the modifications to the condition. Consistent with HCID and planning policy, planning therefore recommends that this commission remain unchanged. With respect to the applicant's proposed changes to the tract map Bureau of Engineering conditions, numbers 2 and 3, planning is conferred with BOE staff, and BOE does not support the proposed reduction of below-grade dedication depth from 10 feet to 5 feet. The 10 feet below-grade depth beneath the sidewalk is necessary for maintenance and access to subsurface utilities beneath the sidewalks and cannot be encroached upon. Therefore, consistent with BOE's review, portions of conditions 2 and 3 should continue to read that, quote, above dedication shall be limited to a depth of 10 feet below finished sidewalk surfaces. BOE expressed no further concerns with the remainder of the applicant's proposed modifications to the tract conditions. And lastly, regarding the applicant's proposed modifications to 9B and 9D, just a minor typographical corrections. Those actually appear to relate to conditions S3I, B, and D, and planning staff would recommend that those condition numbers be requested, or excuse me, corrected. That's all. Thank you, and staff's available to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lamborn. We have appellants that we'll ask to come speak. There are 3 of them: Alex Frankel, Douglas Karstens, and Ellis Raskins. There are 2 separate appeals, so there'll be a total of 10 minutes for those appellants to speak.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chair and Honorable Committee members. My name is Douglas Karstens. I'm an attorney with Chatton Brown and Karstens, and I'm here on behalf of Livable LA and the AIDS Healthcare Foundation. This is the first plum hearing of the new year. I wish you a happy new year. You're certainly off to quite a start here. We have submitted a letter yesterday by email and today by hard copy, which is carrying forward our objections, which started with the draft EIR and are continuing to this day. We have 5 reasons we'd like to ask you to continue this hearing. I had 4 originally, but just hearing from staff today about the letter submitted January 14th from the applicant, it's a 7-page letter with a number of different changes, conditions, not all of which staff agrees with. That's a 5th reason to continue. The first reason to continue this hearing would be the FBI probe that is ongoing right now. That probe has a warrant naming members of this committee, one current, one former, and they have voted on matters related to this project. We're asking you not to vote on this until the dust settles on that probe, until we know who is indicted and who is not, who is involved and who is not. We're asking that as our first reason for requesting a continuance today. Our second reason for requesting a continuance is the lack of affordable housing. I'll explain more about the affordable housing shortage involved in this, but let me say it's very clear. I'll read the redevelopment plan in a moment, requiring at least 15 and up to or more than 30%. This has 11%. That's miserly. Our third reason for asking for a continuance today is that the Hollywood Community Plan is being updated currently as we speak. This dog should not wag, well, this is not the tail that should wag the dog. The community plan should be updated before this project should be voted on. It's got 1.38 million square feet. That's a 1.2 million square foot increase, and that is a city within a city. Before approving this project, we ask you to review and approve in a legal way the Hollywood Community Plan, because the last time the Hollywood Community Plan update was approved, it was sued. A judge called it fatally and fundamentally flawed and ordered it to be set aside. So we're asking you to continue this hearing until that's done, and then look at this project with that in mind. So the fourth reason we're asking for a continuance is the environmental impact report required by the California Environmental Quality Act is not adequate. There's a lot of information I'd like to point out. We pointed out in our letters and in what we've submitted further. It has lots of shortcomings. The California Environmental Quality Act is a Bill of Rights for an environmental democracy. It's a participatory democracy. It requires accountability and transparency. We're not seeing a lot of that, and we'd like to encourage that today. So that's a fourth reason for a continuance. Now let me go into a little bit of detail about the affordable housing requirements. In the Hollywood redevelopment plan, I'll read it. It says at least 30% of all new or rehabilitated dwelling units developed within the project area by the agency, if any, shall be for persons and families of low or moderate income. And it says at least 15%, I'm quoting, at least 15% of all new or rehabilitated units developed within the project area by public or private entities or persons other than the agency shall be for persons and families of low or moderate income. 15%. 15% of the 950 proposed by this project is 143 units. What you've got is 105 very low income units set aside for a density bonus. That is very short of the 143 under 15%, or the 30% required under the first provision of that redevelopment code I just read. That would be 286 units of affordable housing. This project falls far short of that. Area-wide, and this is in documents we submitted as enclosure 1 with our letter, there's a 331 unit shortfall of low and moderate income housing. The fact that this project will provide 105 units of very low income does nothing at all to address the low and moderate income unit shortfall. So we're asking you to address that very carefully and comply with the redevelopment requirements. The density bonus is being asked for this project to increase floor area ratios by 35%. A 35% increase, that's a subsidy to the developer. If they're asking for a 35% increase, the least they could give is 30% affordable units. So instead of supplying an adequate number of affordable units, they are demolishing rent-stabilized apartments, which are in a historic building, the Selma Las Palmas apartments, and they are seeking to return the tenants into the very low-income units. They're double counting the affordable housing requirements, and that's illegal and wrong. They're not supplying affordable units at the level required by the redevelopment code or providing a right of return to tenants as required under the rent stabilization ordinance. There are 82 units we just heard. In condition 14, there's only 40 units of return reservation. 40 is not 82. You need to increase the amount being reserved for returning tenants. So The return is also limited to people who qualify for the units. That's not everybody. Very low income units have a very strict income requirement, so even those that are being reserved are not going to go to the tenants who are supposed to be designated for them. There are other problems than affordable housing, and we detail all of these in the letters. Again, there are other issues with accurate and complete information not being provided in the environmental impact report under Sequal. There's also inconsistency problems under planning and zoning law. The issues that have not been addressed adequately include traffic. There are 4 significant intersections along Sunset which are significantly impacted and could be mitigated if additional and sufficient measures were required. We have submitted an analysis by Bob Kahn, a traffic engineer, to show the places where the EIR has understated and failed to mitigate the traffic impacts. Impacts also lead to air quality impacts. We've submitted a letter from an expert about that in enclosure 4 of our letter. Localized significance thresholds are not being analyzed correctly. Cumulative impacts are not analyzed correctly. Historic resources are also not being analyzed correctly. The Historic Cultural Monument, or HCM, status of 4 buildings in the Crossroads project area, including the Selma Las Palmas Courtyard Apartments, was nominated in August 2018. They were supported by the Cultural Heritage Commission, recommended for nomination. They were shot down in the Plum Committee when it was headed by Councilmember Huizar in August of 2018. We are asking you to revisit that decision because there was no valid basis for denial of the Historic Cultural Monument status at that point. We ask you to revisit it. And then, with regard to the Hollywood Community Plan, I've already talked about how a Superior Court judge in Los Angeles named Judge Goodman has issued a ruling requiring the city to set aside its update. Its update was because information was outdated. The city cannot approve a project as being consistent with the Hollywood Community Plan when it's based on a community plan with population figures from the 1980s. This is a new century. We should have a Hollywood Community Plan that reflects the new times with new information. So, in conclusion, I am asking that you continue this hearing. Wait until the FBI investigation reveals who is going to be indicted, who is not, what projects are involved, and what are not. We're asking you to continue this until the Hollywood Community Plan update is finalized in a legal and adequately supportable way. We ask that you require more affordable housing, up to 30%, because this is a redevelopment area. What is, for those who are given much, much is expected. 30% should be required of this project, and at the very least 15, not 11%. That's too low. It also requires setting aside units, designated units, for renters who are returning, because rent-stabilized ordinance housing is a form of affordable housing. When people are displaced from it, they're not going to be able to afford the rents that are currently out there. We're asking you to provide an accurate, complete, and informative environmental impact report. We're asking that you regain the public trust. We're asking that you show that City Hall is not for sale. Not for sale. I thank you for your time, and I'd be available for questions.
All right. Our applicant representative, Kendra Casper.
Council members, before I start my 10 minutes, I'd like to ask to have a minute to set up a projector. We aren't able to project on the screens today. Would that be all right?
Okay, hold on one second for 2 things. One, people holding up signs, we need you to put your signs up, down, because you're blocking people that are behind you. So please put your signs down. I think you've made the point. And then you asked for a projection.
We are not able to project on the screen, so we would like just 2 minutes to set up a projector so we can give you the presentation, if that's all right.
Okay. No? Yes? So they believe you can project up there.
Okay, I have my architect please bring me the USB?
All right, so we require some notice. So we will let you submit the thumb drive or whatever. If we can get it up, that'll be great. If not, we'll just proceed. Can we grab the thumb drive? All right, so I'm going to start your time while we try to get that figured out. So if you could just, we can, I'm going to get up. All right, so it looks like it's not possible after all. So you're going to have to use all your LSAT words and paint pictures. I know you did great on the LSAT, and there's that huge vocabulary section. So you're going to have to paint word pictures for us today because there's a policy around what gets put up there and when it has to be submitted and all that. And so you're on.
Good afternoon, honorable council members. My name is Kendra Casper of DLA Piper, and I represent the applicant. Just a few brief words about the project, and then I guess I'll speak to the appellant. First off, I wanted to note the amount of project outreach we did for this project. At the Planning Commission, we actually submitted over 1,600 support letters in support of the project. We've met with many of the groups: Neighborhood Council, Planning PVP, CD13 Design Review, the Chamber of Commerce, Hollywood Heritage, the Conservancy, Blessed Sacrament, LAPD, LAFD, Hollywood High School. We had a number of meetings with our tenants, Hollywood Media Bid, and so on and so forth. So I just wanted to make a note for that. I also, in my presentation, just had a map that showed the extent of the support that we have surrounding the project.
Got back up. There you go.
You can see on our poster board here. We're also an environmental leadership development project certified by the state. We are creating high-wage, highly skilled jobs. We have transportation efficiencies, net zero greenhouse gases, and our litigation period is only 9 months because we were certified by the state. We also have several economic benefits of the project. Hard construction costs of Crossroads Hollywood is estimated at over $600 million. Will generate over 5,000 jobs. We have a project labor agreement, and we're participating in the Helmets to Hard Hats program, which will employ veterans. I'm not going to spend much time talking about the project since I don't have my pictures to show you, but just to make a few brief comments about the appellant's presentation today. First off, the Hollywood Community Plan update. Currently, you have a Hollywood Community Plan. Even though it's being updated, it is completely legal, and it is completely legal for you to make a decision on the project today. As a side note, our EIR actually has a full alternative that shows you that you can actually do the exact same project under the Community Plan update, just with a little bit of different entitlements that actually would not include any affordable housing. So under the Hollywood Community Plan as it stands today, we have to use the affordable housing. In regards to the CRA plan, we are not an agency project. We are receiving no money, no funds whatsoever. So those arguments simply do not apply to the project. A right of return, we are actually not required to provide a right of return to the tenants. We're actually volunteering that benefit, so that's a volunteered benefit. And if you'd like to hear about the traffic and air quality issues, I can bring up my experts. I have Sarah Drobus from Gibson Transportation, and I have Stephanie Eyestone-Jones as well to speak about that. Lastly, I would just like to submit, no, that's not mine. I would just like to submit copies of a letter that we submitted yesterday to the record, and also copies of a new letter that we'd like to submit today that just have one more minor tweak to condition number 13. So if I can submit those, please. And that's all I have to say unless anybody has, we're here to answer any questions you may have.
All right, nothing from your assistant in the green tie?
Council members, my name is Jerry Newman, representing the project as well. I do think, given that we have a few more minutes, that it is important to say that this project has been in the works for quite some time, and we have worked diligently with your planning staff. As we were not able to show you the beautiful pictures, the reality is this is a project that has had widespread support, where we have worked diligently with the historic community, with the community at large on its design and implementation. In fact, in doing so, we've met with almost every group and gotten almost every group's compliance, with the exception of the AIDS Healthcare Foundation, which you see the result of their being here today. Relative to Mr. Carson and his statements, I do think it is very important to recognize a few things. One, as to his number one allegation that somehow you should take time because of these investigations, or that this board in any way is tainted relative to this project, there is no allegation, there is nothing related to this project that has ever come before you or that is involved in any of those allegations. Two, relative to his issue of affordable housing, as you heard my assistant, my partner, sorry, you said assistant, now I've got my partner, I'm her assistant. My partner state, this is a project that has affordable housing, and that has it because of the entitlements we are seeking now. Under a community plan, we would not have any affordable housing. Under the new community planner, would not have to have that. Relative to the Community Redevelopment Agency, Mr. Carson's fails to actually tell you what the last sentence says. Oh, your staff is going to say that, I'm sorry. And that is that the Redevelopment Agency specifically states that their percentages do not apply to individual project, that it's an agency-wide issue and a district-wide issue. Failing to say that, again, shows that these are issues that get presented without full facts by the appellant. Lastly, relative to the work that we are doing on historic preservation, we have worked diligently and have showed you an incredible package of historic preservation that I think rivals any other project in the city. In fact, at the end of the day, there are only the 3 buildings that were brought to you and then denied its historic value that are coming down. And that is a reality of how we've worked with the community and how we've engaged on this project. And the fact is, when we went to Planning Commission, there were only 12 people who spoke against a project of the magnitude that was referenced to you. It is unheard of that a project of this magnitude comes to Planning Commission and gets that unanimous support, gets the Planning Commission where they are, and has that little level of opposition. I understand that we are there today with more opposition brought to you by one organization, but that should not sway you. What should sway you is the fact that we are providing a right of return to those residents that still exist in the apartments, that we are providing affordable housing as required, and that we are developing housing and invigorating an area that has gone long unplanned for and uninvigorated. And we hope that we gain your support in doing that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. All right, we have a number of speaker cards. By my count, there are 80. And we're going to lose quorum in probably about 30 minutes. So I'm asking if we can limit public comments to, if we can start the clock and limit public comment to 20 minutes. Right.
Mr. Chair.
So we're hearing 2 items together, 30 minutes for and 30 minutes against, although most people, almost no one has filled out whether or not they're for or against, so it's impossible to know that.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Clarification, do you want the clock to just continuously run, or do you want me to reset it for each speaker?
You should reset it for each speaker, and then we'll have a running clock. I mean, we'll still keep that clock at the dais, at the podium?
It won't.
You can't do that?
No.
All right, so I'm going to start calling names, and we're going to figure it out. How about that? All right, so Ron Miller, Liz Brereton, Doug Karstens. Yeah, we're going to, so we need to, Move quickly, because we're going to lose quorum. It's almost 5 o'clock.
Good afternoon, council members. I'm Ron Miller, Executive Secretary of the LA Orange County Building and Construction Trades Council. We're here in support of this project. We've worked right alongside this developer. This is a good project. The city's in a housing crisis. It needs the affordable houses. It needs the this area needs to be revitalized, and it's a good project. There's one so-called community group against this project. We've been here before with these guys. They have billions of dollars, and all they do is hold up construction in the city. It's a shame. We're here to build things, make good living places for people, and put local people to work. So let's push this project forward and get a shovel in the ground. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Liza Brereton, Counsel for AIDS Healthcare Foundation. We're here today along with a number of our clients and patients who are primarily low income and suffer greatly from the gentrification going on in Hollywood and the rest of Los Angeles. So to dismiss our concerns is really a very superficial way to address what we're here for. And I really implore you as members of the City Council to please use the power that's been granted to you by the state under AB 1505 and start requiring additional affordable housing. You now have the power expressly to do that. It's been over a year and I haven't seen any kind of progress. And whether or not the Hollywood redevelopment plan requires a per project or a cumulative percentage, it's not happening. There are insufficient a number of affordable units in Hollywood under the plan, and you got to start somewhere. So why not now? Thank you.
All right, I want to confirm. I called 3 appellants. I want to confirm that 2 of them withdrew their time to speak. Alex Franco, Ellis Raskin. They did not come forward when I called them earlier. I want to make sure that was the real deal. And if you'll come see the city attorney and the sergeant on the side, if that is not the case, we'll proceed with public comment. Doug Karstens, Don Garza, Steve Ducey. Okay, Mr. Karstens already spoke. Don Garza, Steve Ducey, Jill Stewart. Yes.
My name's Jill Stewart. I'm Executive Director of the Coalition to Preserve LA and a reporter in this city for about 35 years covering the City Council. I want to urge you to please delay projects, including today's project, the Crossroads project, that are under a cloud. The cloud is, I'll describe it to you. I've been called by the New York Times, the Los Angeles Times, the Wall Street Journal, KNBC, CBS, and KNX to comment on what the Los Angeles Times editorial board is calling corruption and the stench of corruption. The issue here is you are approving projects, huge projects, after each one of you in some way and at some point has had a private meeting with the developer. In this case, it was Mitch O'Farrell. But each of you here has played this role in meeting privately with developers before the public even knows a project's coming along. Now, current price has been...
That's your time. Thank you. Gilbert Smith, Spencer Allegiart, Elena Wachtel.
Good afternoon, committee members. I'm Gilbert Smith. I'm president of the Ricardo Montebond Theater in Hollywood on Vine Street. And I support this project. It is going to bring back a corner of central Hollywood with entertainment, with housing, with jobs, especially in the entertainment industry, with the cultural elements that are being provided by the developer. The Hollywood Reporter building, the Crossroads historical landmarks are going to be revitalized, and it's going to be a great contribution to the community. Thank you very much for your time.
Good afternoon, Plum Committee. My name is Spencer Allegart. Hollywood stakeholders learn about projects from U.S. mail, email, and social media platforms. I speak today on behalf of the Crossroads Hollywood social media supporters. We work full-time jobs, working 10 to 12 hours a day, and don't have time to attend community meetings. However, since learning about this project on social media, we have taken time off work to show our unconditional support for Crossroads Hollywood. This project is the future we want to see for Hollywood, a blend of old and new, in a dynamic development where you can wake up, go to work, dine out, meet friends, and never need a car. Please support Crossroads Hollywood. Thank you.
Thank you. We got Josh,
Hello.
Grammer, Rana, Gabdan, or Gadban. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Ilana Wachtel with the Coalition to Preserve LA. Given the FBI investigation that is going on today, we are asking that you hold on approving projects such as Crossroads. It's very troubling, especially when you examine the pay-to-play that goes on, the private meetings, and the campaign contributions that get spread to individuals on this committee and others such as Mitch Farrell, who represents Hollywood. We ask that reforms be put in place before even the FBI investigation results come forth. Reforms such as approve David Rue's ban on development money and gifts to your favorite charities, campaign reform.
You got to stay on these appeals.
Well, part of that is to actually start to think about some campaign finance reforms.
That's not in the jurisdiction of this committee.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Josh Graham. I'm speaking today on behalf of Abundant Housing. We're an all-volunteer organization of more than 2,000 people dedicated to making Los Angeles a more affordable place to live. We support the Crossroads project. The greater Los Angeles region is facing a severe housing shortage. This project will provide much-needed housing, including 105 units of dedicated affordable housing for very low-income households. Those units will help alleviate the regional housing shortage and serve the current low-income residents as well. This project is in a great location for housing and is well served by public transit, including both bus and rail service. This project is good for Los Angeles and the region. Thank you.
Council members, my name is Rana Gadban. I'm the new president and CEO of the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce. I'm here to express our strong support of the proposed Crossroads Hollywood project, which will bring much-needed housing, hotel rooms, and commercial space in an area with a need of revitalization. As you know, Los Angeles, and especially Hollywood, has seen a steady rise in tourism, which has escalated the need for hotel rooms. We are very excited to see the project addresses this need through the construction of a 308-room hotel. Additionally, the Chamber recognizes the extreme need for more housing stock as the city grapples with an affordable housing crisis. We support the efforts of this developer to provide much-needed market rate and affordable housing for those living and working in Hollywood. This project will radically revitalize this area, not only with the addition of housing and the hotel, but through the construction of a bustling entertainment and retail district. We ask you to approve this project, which will be a great asset for our community. Thank you so much for your time. I look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Jacob Jarugi, Jed Perriott, Renee Moya, Alfredo Hernandez, Kate Spear. Please do not shout out.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm the Director of Housing as a Human Right, and I'm also a volunteer member of the Los Angeles Tenants Union. I want to speak in opposition to the Crossroads development generally, and I'm firmly opposed to, specifically to the permanent destruction of RSO housing units amidst a housing crisis in the city of Los Angeles. RSO, the Rent Stabilization Ordinance, unlike other policy initiatives that it's meant to mitigate harm, is permanent, and it works. It's why we should strengthen it, and this is why we will continue to fight for it statewide. It's vital to recognize that the acuity of the housing crisis stands alongside a development boom in this city, especially of luxury units, mind you, the vast majority of which, the units that are being built in this development will be luxury units. This all suggests to us that the crisis of affordability, gentrification, and displacement has deeper roots than is being recognized by this body. You cannot solve a crisis of speculative investment and development through more development and more speculative construction. We should also
Thank
be
you.
clear that
That's your
unless
time.
and until we grant the victims
Please take
of
your seat.
displacement
That's
a
your
universal
time.
and unconditional right of return, we're not solving anything. Thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. I'm Alfredo Hernandez, Executive Director of the Hollywood Media District Bid. Our Board of Directors voted unanimously to support this project. Crossroads Hollywood is a catalytic project that continues to revitalize Hollywood by providing jobs, housing, and stimulating our economy through increased tax and tourism dollars. This project provides new revenue streams that will generate millions of recurring dollars to the city, which pays for police, fire, and filling potholes. On behalf of the Hollywood Media District Bid, I ask that you join us in supporting this important project.
Thank you.
Also, I'd like to point out that not only developers, but anybody in this room has the capacity and the ability to meet with Councilmember O'Farrell or anybody on this committee for that matter.
Thank you. Alfred Hernandez, Dave Carter, Anthony Paglario.
I actually submitted 2 cards and you just called me up again. Do you mind? For a different organization.
Quickly.
So I am also the chair of the Hollywood Network Coalition's Urban Policy Committee and founding board member. The Hollywood Network Coalition is a coalition of businesses, residents, nonprofits, and educational institutions that supports Crossroads Hollywood for many reasons. Connectivity is a prime reason. This project has no front door or back door. Crossroads connects the community for all access points through extensive and inviting open spaces with walk-through connections that will greatly enhance the pedestrian experience in the area. Crossroads Hollywood does not turn its back on Hollywood. I ask that you join HNC and Hollywood stakeholders in supporting this project. Thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the council. My name is Dave Carter, and I'm a worker here in Hollywood. I'm also an Air Force veteran. I congratulate the developers for working with veterans to initiate the Helmets to Hard Hats program. This will be vital in a way for vets to reacclimate into society's mainstream and a way to say thank you for your sacrifice. On behalf of working veterans like myself, I ask that you please support this project. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Anthony Pagliaro, and I live and work in Hollywood. I want more open space options, be it ground floor courtyards or rooftop decks. I live and work a few blocks away from the project and appreciate the creation of an atmosphere where I can feel good working remotely and where I can escape to a rooftop refuge to marvel in all things Hollywood and LA. Please vote to support this project. Thank you.
Casey Madrin, Alex Masacci, Lori DeCormand, Brian Curran, Stanley Chapman.
Hello, my name is Casey Madrin. I represent United Neighborhoods for Los Angeles. We oppose this project because of the loss of rent-stabilized housing, the absurd increase in alcohol density, and the increase in stationary pollutants that this project will cause. I'd like to point out that according to the Ethics Lobbying Summary, the most recent one from second quarter 2018, well, first off, DLA Piper tends to score among the highest paid lobbyists in this city consistently over the last several years. Also, in the second quarter report from 2018, it showed Crossroads Associates paid them $222,000. This seems to show that the major consideration in approving projects like Crossroads is not better community planning or concerned communities, it's money. And our only hope at United Neighborhoods for Los Angeles is the federal investigation, which currently seems focused on downtown, expands to Hollywood, where I'm sure they'll find plenty of interesting things to look at.
Good afternoon. My name is Alex Masacci, Vice President of MCAP Partners. My family and I are longtime Hollywood property owners, and my uncle Jacques is a former CHNC board member and current Hollywood Media District Bid board member with myself. We are very excited about this project. The developer and the architects took great care in the design to both celebrate Hollywood and its history and to respect the neighborhood. And as well, the applicant's extensive community outreach during the past 3.5 years has led to a project that incorporates community goals and objectives. This is a project we can all be proud of, and I ask for your support. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lois DeArmond. I believe that the approvals achieved by the project to date are the result of pay-to-play backhanders to city officials, and that the project should be stopped unless and until the investigation of the approval process for this and other large developments is concluded. Further, our city does not need one more luxury unit built. Many sit empty now. This development will displace 84 families and destroy RSO housing units. The idea that these families can move into the new units is disingenuous and not borne out by the realities and history of this kind of development. Some of these tenants may very well join the ranks of the over 50,000 homeless people now on the streets of Los Angeles. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Stanley Chapman, the activist. As you can see, there's a whole bunch of us out here today. I'm here to ask, do not approve Crossroads until the FBI probe is fully understood and you regain our trust by demanding reforms. So please do not approve Crossroads. We have enough buildings in Hollywood that are sitting vacant, luxury buildings sitting vacant, Target, old spaghetti factory sitting vacant. Please do not approve Crossroads. Thank you very much.
Nicole Mahalka, Mickey Jackson, Frank Gully, Jorge Castaneda. Jack Humphreyville.
Hello, my name is Nicole Mahalka. I'm Vice Chair of the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce Board. I am here to testify in strong support of Crossroads Hollywood. New residents, a new hotel, dining opportunities will add vitality to the west end of Sunset Boulevard. With more than 2,500 construction jobs and 2,600 permanent jobs, this project deserves your support. Thank you.
Jorge Castaneda, Coalition to Preserve LA. Let's be clear. What we are looking at is the wiping out of a historic, diverse community by this developer, a community attacked by City Planning Commissioner Mark Mitchell, a Garcetti appointee, in a racially toned criticism as a dormant area. What is the subtext of calling this vibrant and historic community dormant? Are these working class people invisible, replaceable, disposable? Let's be clear. This project will exacerbate the pricing out of working families and invite in even more unaffordable housing. This panel says its goals are the opposite. Let's be clear. The working people urge this committee to reject this project as is, and furthermore, the working people urge this committee to take a clear-eyed approach if this committee really is serious about addressing the affordable housing crisis and the homelessness crisis that we see everywhere.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Frank. I'm a resident of the Hollywood Vine neighborhood. I live in a low-income house. If it wasn't for the fact that I had that kind of housing, I would be homeless. It just seems really odd to me how everybody sitting up here completely ignores the fact that we have a huge homeless problem in that very neighborhood. I walk down the street, I see huge buildings, luxury apartments being built everywhere, and at the same time, homeless. Considering what's happening, I would say do not approve the Crossroads until the FBI probe is fully understood and you regain our trust by demanding reform. And quite frankly, I think you need to do a better job. Thank you.
Mickey Jackson, Healthy Housing Foundation, Housing is a Human Right, Coalition to Preserve LA. You know, I sit and I listen to what everyone says, and one of the things they kept saying is one organization. First of all, that's ridiculous. This isn't one organization. But second of all, it's only one developer. All this trouble is brought to us by one developer. And the next thing I'd say is we need to stop approving things until our approvals are proven not to be so tainted that they could cause the taxpayer to be holding a huge, expensive bag. It's always the taxpayer left holding the bag. We don't know yet if the approvals in this room from this committee are tainted. We know they may be because some of the people are mentioned. So the approval and whether or not there were approvals earlier is irrelevant.
I'm sorry. Hold on one second, because people keep saying people sitting up here are mentioned. We have a council member that literally has been on the council for about 6 hours. So I'm just say
not
who you're
all
talking.
People, but
say
people.
Who you're talking about, or don't besmirch all of us.
I will be happy to. The people who voted to approve it previously, Huizar and Price, are mentioned. 2 of your committee members are precise. Their staff is precisely, and they are the ones who took those votes, as well as yourself and Mr. Cedillo. But these other folks did, and who knows whose name's coming out tomorrow. The fact that it was approved before is irrelevant because those approvals may very well be tainted. That very period of time, this time that's gone before us, it's several years, where all of these pay-to-play things have happened, that is what the LA Times is referring to, and I have our editorial here, the LA Times, as the cloud. So it was approved by the cloud.
My name is Jack Comfreyville, and I'm not on the AIDS Healthcare Foundation. My name is Jack Comfreyville. I am not on the AIDS Healthcare Foundation payroll. Thank you very much. Probably wouldn't mind being. The upzoning of this project is basically going to involve a windfall for the developers and the landowner of about $200 to $400 million. And what do we get out of that? We're not getting squat. We're not getting our fair share. What do we get in return? We get the destruction of a neighborhood. We get ethnic cleansing. We have increased congestion from this property as well as all the other properties that are being developed in Hollywood. And furthermore, it increases the stench of corruption as given the political connections of the developer, the landowner, and the building trades. I urge you to send this project back to the drawing boards. Thank you.
We have Amanda Seward, Margot Gerber, Joe Oliveira, Susan Hunter, Annie Gagan, Carol Henning, Celeste Hong.
Good afternoon or good evening, council members. My name is Amanda Seward, and I'm an attorney that is working with the tenants at Crossroads. A couple of points we have. One, it's all good to talk about a right of return, but the tenants have no idea of the details. They have not been given any details about what that right of return will mean, and we need to have the details. Is it only for people who are eligible for affordable units that can come back? What does everybody do in the interim? Will they work around it? There need to be a lot more discussions with the tenants and to get the tenants' rights or their place in the new development. And we urge you to encourage the developer and the council office
If you speak out one more time, we're going to ask you to leave the chambers.
In closing, the tenants' issues have not been adequately addressed, and they need to be. Displacement as well as new housing is an issue. Thank you.
Susan Hunter, Los Angeles Tenants Union Hollywood local caseworker. I adopt all comments that object to this project as well as to my own. First, I'd like to point out that there is no finding in regards to the CRA plan for the amount of affordable housing that should be required on this project, because net loss across Hollywood is about 1,000 units. So you should actually make this entire project 100% affordable, and therefore it might be in compliance with the CRA plan. The other issue is that if they are able to get the affordable housing in the new project, then therefore we are also not in compliance of Section 16, Goal 16 of the CRA plan. I'd also like to point out that Heritage is a bad operator. They are currently running an illegal hotel at 5825 West Sunset Boulevard, where they even bolted windows shut of tenants trying to get them out so that they can run the entire thing as an illegal hotel. And if 1 red cent of that illegal hotel is going into this project, you should absolutely not be approving this project, but you will, because they paid for a lot of your campaigns and your steak dinners and your lobbying. So you're going to go ahead and rubber stamp this project like you always do, even though there might be some illegalities attached to it. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Harris, wake up. My name is Joe Oliveira. I'm a resident. You've been doing very well. I see a lot of dozing off here, and Mr. Smith, hope you're with us. I support the project. To me, the project is going to bring all these people here more affordable housing. So I'm totally lost. That's what I see. More units, and if I'm mistaken, perhaps you can meet with Susan because she knows what she's talking about. But again, I support the project, and I'm a resident. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. I'm Carol Henning. I'm a member of the Sierra Club. After I graduated from Cal, I got a job in New York City and lived in Manhattan. I left after 2 years, and I was glad to return to Los Angeles with its open space, palm trees, and garden court apartments. Iconic dwellings of Los Angeles. Now, these symbols of Southern California life are being destroyed to build mega structures that make LA look more like Manhattan. The garden court apartments slated for the wrecking ball so that 3 luxury towers can be built are home for people who've lived in them for decades. Through Sierra Club eyes, I see that the Crossroads project is not sustainable. Demolishing buildings and putting up new ones releases pollutants, including greenhouse gases, into the air. Resources and energy.
You. That's your time. That's your time. Thank you.
To say, we have 12
You're taking up other people's time. That's not. You can't do that. We have to give you all 1 minute. And we're getting very close to losing quorum, so we're going to get these last 3 speakers and conclude our public comment time for 13 and 14.
Good evening. My name is Margot Gerber. I've been following this project for a while as the president of the Art Deco Society. We were the ones who put forth the nomination for the garden apartments. I agree with everything the woman who just spoke said about our style of living. I do believe that this project did not take the historic structures that they're planning to demolish seriously. But my main concern at this point, I also work at the Egyptian Theater, so we're a neighbor of this project, is that what you heard the developers say was what they could get away with legally by law, not what makes sense for the neighborhood. And we're not thrilled about bringing in an increase in alcohol-related crime or seeing these 32-story towers go up that are not in line with what's in the neighborhood. The other developments that are in our neighborhood are at most 8 stories. And I really believe this should be revisited, and you guys should go and look at the area and see the little side street that is expected to house now like 2,400 more people.
Celeste Hong, Vice President of the Art Deco Society of Los Angeles. I really do think that given the FBI probe, all big major developments that are radically going to reshape and change the city should be suspended until the probe is finalized. I think that Council Member Rue, I live in Rue's district, his ordinance about disclosure of the relationship between council members and developers should be adopted. And I really am troubled by the fact that the CHC's recommendations weren't even considered. It was just a matter of, like, we want to tear it down. We don't care what our Cultural Heritage Commission thinks. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm a little bit shaky.
My name is Annie Gagan. I'm a 40-year resident of Hollywood. I'm now with AIDS Health Foundation. I'm a former board member of a Hollywood Neighborhood Council who experienced residents of Hollywood coming to meetings who are suffering displacement in this whole area, and it's heartbreaking. Add Crossroads, another obscene, dangerous project to CD13, illegal target, illegal Hollywood community plan, dangerous to lives millennium, and now Crossroads, a CD13 project that literally wipes out a whole residential Hollywood community. I live there, causing gentrification and displacement, potentially adding to the homeless crisis, and wipes out about 4 Cultural Heritage Commission nominated historic resources. What city allows this? All for developers, funding political careers with not a care about the human collateral damage. The cesspool of developer political corruption is not downtown, it's in Hollywood, especially in CD13. It must be investigated along with the mayor and put an end to the illegal, dangerous to lives projects and shameful Hollywood displacement holocaust, selling out lives for developer funding. A totally disgusting trade-off.
Thank you. All right, that exhausts our 30 minutes of public comment on this. I'm going to ask if there's someone from the council district to speak on this matter.
Good afternoon. My name is Craig Bullock, and I'm with Councilmember Mitch O'Farrell's office. I'm here to convey the council member's support for this project and the entitlements before you today, and request the denial of the appeal. The project has many benefits for the city and for Hollywood in particular. The increase of housing, especially affordable housing in Hollywood in close proximity to transit, is just one of them. The 105 units of income-restricted units is a substantial benefit that is not easily come upon. This project will rehabilitate historic structures on the Crossroads site. The Crossroads of the World, the Hollywood Reporter Building, and the Bollinger Building will be restored and given new economic purpose, ensuring their preservation. In addition, the applicant has agreed for the relocation and rehabilitation of the Major Kunkel Bungalow and the Talbot Wood double dwelling. This project will redevelop an otherwise underutilized site and creates housing, jobs, and economic benefits that all can benefit from. It is these reasons why the council member supports this project. In addition, a letter was submitted detailing modifications to the conditions that were submitted by the City Planning Commission. We are supportive of the modifications that were addressed in the developer as they pertain to items, with the exception of item 13 and 2. And 2, we would like to ensure that modification to the physical conditions of the street do not eliminate any parking. And finally, the council member asked that I convey his appreciation for the Department of City Planning staff, particularly Heather Bleemers, William Lamborn, Lucia Barra, and Alejandro Huerta. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bullock. So, Mr. Mejia, I, as chair, I'll move that we grant in part and deny in part.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. We want to give the planning staff opportunity to address the myriad of issues that were raised during public comment and testimony from the applicant and the appellant.
Thank you. Heather Bleemers, Department of City Planning. I'll make it brief. I just want to remind everybody that this is a density bonus site plan review project. There are no land use designation changes, no zone changes, just a density bonus site plan review project. So with regard to the community plan update for Hollywood, this project is consistent with that. Again, they're just seeking a density bonus compliance review and site plan review along with the conditional uses. With regard to the lack of affordable housing that was mentioned, the applicant's counsel did mention that they read the last paragraph of that CRA paragraph, and that is, we agree with that the aggregate of the housing should be distributed within the plan area, not relegated to a specific site. With regard to the right of return, the applicant is actually volunteering a condition for the 40 residents to come back to the site once it's developed. The units, if they were rented back onto the market as apartments and rental units, they would have that right of return. As it is, if they are demolished, that right of return would not be there. The applicant is volunteering that condition. With regard to the historic issue, council denied the nomination. However, the EIR actually treated those buildings as historic documents, or buildings.
All right, and then just a couple other points on the EIR raised by the appellant. The EIR was fully compared in compliance with Sequal and the state Sequal guidelines. The appeal points raised today are repetitive of what's already addressed in the letter that's before you, dated January 10th. There are a couple specific items to mention with regard to air quality impacts and localized significance thresholds as fully documented, both project level and cumulative. In the response letter, those impacts were found based upon established South Coast Air Quality Management District methodology to be less than significant. Traffic impacts were indeed fully analyzed, and the traffic study was reviewed and approved by LADOT. Traffic impacts were found to be significant and unavoidable, as one of the speakers mentioned. At 5 intersections, all feasible mitigation measures were explored, and there are 6 different mitigation measures in the EIR that reduce impacts to the extent feasible, but again, those impacts remain significant and unavoidable. I think Heather had one more point to mention.
Your partner...
Heather Bleemers, Department of City Planning. I just wanted to go over the applicant's letters just briefly and summarize what was included in them. With their recommended condition changes to housing requirements, it was stated that they wanted to have housing all located in one building. That is against HCID's recommendation, as Will mentioned. Then there was another letter dated January 14th. This has conditions relating to the tract and the CPC case. A lot of these are basically kind of correcting minor errors that were in the conditions. There's also change from something where it's operator versus owner, something like that. And the vesting tentative tract changes were reviewed by BOE, and BOE agreed with these. However, staff mentioned that there is an issue with requiring a 5-foot subsurface vacation, and I believe that we spoke on that as well.
Thank you so much. So, Mr. Bahir, we have gotten some additional corrections and changes. I'd like to put forward a motion to grant in part and deny in part. If you could read to us what's in front of us.
We'll grant in part, deny in part the appeal filed by Doug Karstens on behalf of Livable LA relative to the tract map, as well as to the associated land use entitlements that were applied for. I believe they were the conditional use, the site plan, and the density bonus. And in addition, we need to adopt the recommendations that were submitted by CD13. And also, as it relates to the DLA Piper letter, adopt those conditions, those revisions, with the exception of condition 13 and condition number 2. And also, in addition, we need to adopt the EIR, the final EIR, the errata, the Sequal findings, the statement of overriding considerations, the mitigation monitoring program that was prepared as part of the EIR.
Excellent. So, discussion, members? Seeing none, a second for Mr. Blumenthal. Without objection, that'll be the order. Where does that leave us?
Councilman, I think we never took up item 1, the Director of Planning's report, and general public comment.
Mr. Keller.
Good evening, council members. With my lost voice, in the interest of time, we'll roll over our director's report to the next meeting. Thank you.
So we'll continue that item till next week, Tuesday.
And then general public comment, Councilman.
Yes, we do have general public comment. We have Nico Patnoy, Mickey Jackson, Jill Stewart, Brian Zaragoza, Sam Trin, Daisy Gutierrez, Evelyn Balderas, Celeste Hong.
General public.
He just called like 10 names.
Right. That's better than location. Right. All right, so that's it. So we've called all our public comment speakers. I don't see anybody approaching the dais. Oh, Ms. Stewart, come on up. You've got 1 minute public comment.
I couldn't hear what you were announcing.
You have
sorry.
general public comment. You had a card submitted.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
For general public comment, I'd like to urge you all to remember that everybody's watching now, and the city is under more pressure, I think, than ever in its history, modern history, since 1967, when a city council member was sent to prison for selling his vote to developers. I think you need to slow it down. Quit rolling your eyes at me, Mr. Harris Dawson. We have a lot of problems showing up here in Los Angeles. You need to take it more seriously, not rush through approvals. Slow it down. Find out what's going on. Get some more education about what's unfair and fair about approvals, and take it more seriously. I think that there was some arrogance here today and some talking down to people. I counted at least 15 groups here in this room, and I kept hearing from people that there was only one group in the room. You need to slow it down, find out what's going on, who else might be named in these investigations, how big could it get, and avoid approving these controversial giant projects in which private meetings have gone on and on. Thank you.
Thank you. Mickey Jackson.
I hope you listen to what Jill just said. Seriously listen, because it's not going to be pretty. None of you know where your names are going to show up or not, or maybe you do. But as Jill said, this has not happened in our modern history. And it's almost always development that sinks people, and that sinks council people, and sinks mayors. And you all need to be very mindful of that. Very, very mindful that a lot of these votes will come to be questioned. A lot of things are going to be questioned. And I saw a lot of kind of, like Jill, I saw a lot of kind of frivolous, flippant behavior. And that's what people do when they're nervous. What I saw was, perhaps with the exception of Mr. Smith, a very nervous group of people.
All right. Members, any comments? Mr. Cedillo.
Yes, I have comments. First of all, I want to welcome Mr. Smith back to City Hall. Welcome to a different City Hall. I want to note for you that we're living now in this era of Trumpism, where there is a big lie, and then the lie gets repeated, and then repeated and repeated, and so it creates a specter, a hysteria that exists. It's like the day of the locust here at City Hall now. We sit here in front of our city attorney, who's here to guide us to make sure that everything we do is in accord with the law. You're a sworn officer. You know the requirements of that. And yet people come here and talk about an FBI probe that has nothing to do with this hearing. And to make sure that this concern that anybody may have, the president of our council put you on this committee, put me on this committee. Fresh eyes, so that the review of all these matters brought before us are done with fresh eyes, to make sure that there's no taint whatsoever. But yet people will continue to repeat and to repeat and to repeat. But we note that there's not one scintilla of evidence that anything that this committee did today should be considered beyond the scope of what we should have done. That we've complied with all the moral and ethical requirements that this position that we have, that we're honored and very privileged to have, that we've comported ourselves with that. And so for those who want to continue to speculate and create some specter, who believe that this Trumpism is a way to create a political advantage, we should note that that will not take place here. Welcome. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cedillo. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our illustrious Plum Committee. I think with that we are adjourned, Mr. Mejia. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.